This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Sierra 117, and you're watching Xbox Ultimate. Now, finish the fight. Chief out.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to Xbox Ultimate Podcast, episode 57. We are live. I think everything is working properly. If you notice any weird stuff going on, because I have new equipment, let me know in the chat. And speaking of the chat, shout out to everybody here nice and early for the show. I see people piling in right now, but we also have quite a bit of people that have been here waiting for the show to start. So thank you so much. Shout out to BACfromthedead, Pixel Slappa, Jasper, Nix, Chris Jones, Mario, Anime, Siki, Joe Dunmore, Tony Grasso, and yeah, we're gonna have an awesome show today, guys. We are without AssassinLupa, so shout out to Lupa. I hope you're doing okay. Lady is still getting over being sick as well, so shout out to Lady. I hope you start feeling better soon as well. And 3-Bit's on his way. He's just running behind. So we're starting with 5 tonight, and one of those 5 is our super special guest, the one and only Boom
Thanks,
Boom. The one and only super Boom Boom Kaboom man in the room, Noof Nukem. What's up, dude? Thanks for being here.
Oh, I'm all types of special, baby. Yeah, it's good to be back in the Xbox Ultimate Podcast where you find crew. And I'm sure we've got lots of stuff to get into, and it's going to be a great show. Obviously, you got a fantastic chat. And as I said, man, thanks for sending out the invite. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be here with one of the fastest growing podcasts and some of the most charismatic panel members you can find on any particular podcast. So I'm just glad to be a little spot stain on the brain, baby. Let's go. Let's do it.
A spot stain on the brain. Let's go. Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, where do you come up with this stuff? I love it. What do you have since you've been here last time? You've started Good Morning Xbox, which has taken off, and it's absolutely an awesome show. I try and catch it anytime that I can. It is nice and early, but it is also a good wake up call as well, because y'all have great topics and conversations on that. So congrats on getting that second show started, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much, Matt. And hey, all you got to do is look over to Pong Soul and Steel Rain. You know, they do one early on Saturday morning, and they know that generally the only thing that's up for most of us guys is probably a boner, and that's about it. So, we're pretty cool with all the people that show up bright and early. I know people are trying to wipe the eye boogers out and get their coffees going, but it's always a good time. And I see you guys in the chat, so don't worry. It's greatly appreciated. Whether you turn up for 5 seconds or 10 minutes or the whole damn show, just when people stop by and say hello even means the world to us. And we're pretty thrilled with the modest success we've seen with the podcast, or at least the reception we've had. It's been very good, and we're not getting attacked. And a lot of, other than 1 or 2 douchehats, we've had a couple that seem to have a hate on for somebody in the panel, probably me. It's me or Cool Cat Terry, I think. But yeah, we've had a couple of douche canoes, but I guess that's par for the course, right?
Yeah, there's always a few idiots out there trying to spoil everybody's fun. You know what I mean? Just because it's fun for them, I think. Yeah, that are just weird.
I'm a corporate slave, so I better get off these podcasts.
Yeah, it's true, man.
The hell does that even mean?
I mean, I don't even.
But the funniest thing, when they call us corporate slaves, it's usually that means they're calling us that when they basically shill for the other side. completely.
Right. No
This
matter
isn't
what they
somebody
do.
that likes
Yeah.
Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony and goes, "You're a corporate slave." You never get that from somebody who owns all the consoles. You always get it from the
Yeah.
one who's got one side or the other, and then they call you the slave, and you're like, "And what do you think you're doing there, you douche canoe? Like, you're paddling up the wrong stream, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah,
look in the mirror."
that's one of the weirder comments that you'll get sometimes is the corporate slave thing. It's like it just doesn't make sense. Like why is that the case? Because I like something and like to talk about it. I don't understand, but it is what it is. We also have first in my heart a lovely wife, Kaitlin. Hey, baby.
Hey.
Are you a corporate
What's up?
slave?
I'm a slave for you.
Yes, that's what I was looking for.
I'm a slave.
For you. All right.
Hello.
Wow.
Yes, man. Hashtag free Britney.
Psychonauts.
What's up?
Mellow fellow. What's up, dude?
What's up? How's it going? It's a fucking Friday night. You know, it's great times, and it's getting some news. You got light news, but the news that we did get is interesting.
Light news, but
Yeah,
we got
man.
good stuff
Great
to talk
fucking
about.
time, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Dave's not here, man.
Dishes are
Yeah.
done.
Oh my
man.
God.
Oh
Dude,
my God,
Psychonauts.
Pong, I fucking love you.
Dishes
Oh
are
my,
done,
my brother
man.
and I say that all the
Yeah.
fucking time.
Yeah.
You know what? Psychonauts now totally fucking reminds you who he sounds like and even resembles with that fucking bandana on. He's like fucking from Tommy Chong.
Tommy Chong. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
He's a lot
could-
like Tommy Chong. In
You
more
could do a
ways
wicked
than one.
Tommy Chong impression. That's crazy.
He could, yeah.
Does anybody
Far
else
out,
know where
man.
that's from? That line that Pong just spit out?
I know where it's from.
Don't say it, Pong.
I won't.
Anybody else?
I don't know. I didn't hear
Hey,
it.
chat. The first person to say
Someone.
the first person in the chat to say the dish where the dishes are done, man, in the chat where that line has come from wins a $20 Xbox gift card.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Pretty big for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious who's gonna get it.
Dishes are done, man.
Dishes are done, man. Pong Soul. Hey, I hear a lot
Yeah,
of
brother.
typing on Google right now.
No,
Pong Soul,
that a
what's
half
up,
peace
dude?
sign?
How's it going?
it is going
A lot of wrong answers right
fantastic.
now.
Probably a lot of wrong answers in
A lot of
there.
wrong
There
answers.
is.
Yes. I think
My
Shizma
God.
got it.
No, he
Uh,
didn't.
No,
No.
he didn't.
Oh.
No, no. Anyways, it's Friday night. Man. We've got the legend Nukem here. It is always a pleasure and honor to be on a show with him. Thanks for dropping in, Noof. Great to have you, brother. But obviously, good to see you, fam. Again, shout out to Lady. Shout out to Lupa. Keep taking care of yourselves. Hope to see you guys back. Your girls back real soon. Miss you and obviously love you. So just make sure you guys keep doing what you got to do and get better. Okay. So, but hopefully 3-bit will show up here. And then we have most of the family. So, but it's great to see everybody. It's really weird, Map. Do you know, like all these new games, this huge, every week something dropping. And do you know me? And you
Yeah.
know my game playing style, right? So it's all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So
like
what
kinda
am I
like me.
playing this? Yeah, yes, very much so. We're a lot alike in that. So I got all these great new games. And what am I playing right now?
Battlefield 4?
No Man's Sky.
Oh,
I jumped
No
into
Man's
No
Sky.
Man's Sky.
Wow.
And State of Decay 2. I
Dude.
jumped back into both of those.
I'm glad that you actually have stepped into that because we're going to get into some stuff regarding that kind of game, right?
Yeah.
So that it'll be interesting to have your takes based on this. So because it's a very relevant game actually to this conversation. So that's awesome. No Man's Sky. They got a huge
Yeah.
update again, didn't they? Recently.
Yes, that's what
So-
got me into it. Yep, that's what drew me back. I haven't played it since the PS4. I had it on the PS4 when it first came out. It was day one.
Yeah.
Got it, and I was ready to rock and roll because I love space exploration. I love the idea of it. I love all of it. That's why I'm so excited for Starfield next year. Beyond hyped for Starfield. But No Man's Sky was going to be the promised land, and then it launched, and it was missing almost
Every feature.
99% of the promises.
Yeah,
So,
every feature.
so it was so disappointing, but to see them and what they've done, man. Yeah, we will talk about it a little bit. It's pretty incredible, man.
Cool, dude. So we're gonna wait for 3-Bit to get here too, because I got a fun topic to throw in here again later. It's gonna be the return of a favorite from back in the day, in the early days of Xbox Ultimate, when we first started the panel episodes, when we first kind of started going to a panel and stuff. So we'll have some fun with that. We're bringing back Kill It this week, so I know Pong is looking forward to that, as well as Psycho. Pong is probably has some bad memories from this in the past, but
No, Lupa has bad memories.
but I want to get into actually the first thing I want to talk about, because there's a lot of shit going on right out there with like bad business practices and weird stuff going on. But as much as I have been talking about that stuff, because this is an Xbox show, not going to be talking about that, right? This, because I want to keep this Xbox and stuff that is actually matters for the Xbox platform. So we're going to be focusing on that in games. I know. Like, I don't want to get
Just
into
kidding.
console war like
I'm kidding.
stuff
You're
or like just negative bashing on something. That's for my other streams, right? This is for Xbox. So I want to keep it fun and positive and talk about a game that is actually we're gonna get to play in October. That we got a big time gameplay reveal on the Xbox Series X. And I don't know who all here has had a chance to watch this, but I watched it, did like a live react thing to it. And Far Cry 6, they sat down and showed us like an hour of just straight gameplay on Xbox Series X. Now, I've seen a lot of differing opinions on it since that showcase, and I kind of want to get everybody's thoughts on that. And I have my own personal opinions on it that I've already kind of shared out there, but I want to kind of put it out there on the show. And I want to know, like, Noof, I know we talked about it, and you were kind of going through and watching a little bit of the gameplay. What are your thoughts on Far Cry 6 on two things? Like, one, like, what are your impressions of like what they showed, and also what are your impressions on them actually giving us so much of a look at the game before launch?
Well, the giving us a lot to see is usually issues that, one, the game is fairly complete and they've probably got some confidence in the game itself that it's going to come out and be well received. And in all likelihood, it will. I mean, it's Far Cry. It's a popular series. It's been a couple of years since the last, game in the series. And I did really enjoy Far Cry 5, to be quite honest with you. They tried some new things with that game that I really liked, like, of course, using the animals and stuff, and some, very freewheeling play, with the open world style and the different ways that you could go about certain missions or tackle different things, which was kind of cool. So I did, but overall, I'm not a real big fan of Far Cry, the series in general. Anything from Ubisoft these days makes me very, I don't know what you say, very
Cringe.
apprehensive, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Like anything they make, because all their games seem to be, other than the fact that this is a first person shooter in general, and they kind of all start boring the same template, use a lot of the same ideas. I think it's the biggest crutch that they have right now, is that I feel like I'm playing one game by Ubisoft and basically playing them all. Again, this is just my take. I know there's lots of Ubisoft fans here probably, and also in the chat. Like Assassin's Creed, for example. Like, honestly, I think they need to take a big break from that series and come back with something fresh. I don't. But anyway, getting off topic, just the whole Far Cry 6. I love the story aspect. I like the setting. It looks pretty damn good, but it doesn't blow me away. There's nothing about what I've seen in any of the footage that kind of goes, wow, like this is some next level stuff. It looks really refined, looks really good. Some great destruction. Again, some interesting characters. Obviously, the lead star of the game, Giancarlo Esposito, is a big reason itself to kind of want this game or buy it to see how that manifolds and stuff like that. But I didn't get to see enough of the latest gameplay to really kind of give a deep dive on what I thought. But from the stuff I have seen, like I said, it looks like it's going to be another hit. It's not something I think I'm going to rush out and buy. I may pick it up down the road when it's probably on sale. But there's going to be a lot of other shooters that this game is going to be going up against, in the weeks following its release. Halo Infinite being one. I know Halo Infinite's a couple months down the road, but I don't know. I just don't know if it does enough to capture my attention on this one. I wish them well. I hope people enjoy the game. I always want to see games succeed, but again, it's Far Cry. It's never been one of my favorite series, even though number 5 was probably my favorite in a long time. So I'll leave it at that. That's all I can really tell you.
Yeah. Okay. It's a lot, kind of like what I've been hearing from a lot of people, right? So, which is understandable. So, hey, Pong, did you have a chance to watch the gameplay that they showed? What, like, same questions, like, what are your thoughts about them giving us such a long look at it? And that's a pretty cool thing. And then also, like, what do you think about what we saw?
Yeah, I think Noof hit it, pretty well out of the park here. With anytime a company's willing to go out there and put their game out there like that, they definitely are showing confidence. And this definitely means that the game has been done for quite a while. We know it had an earlier release date. We were supposed to get it earlier this year. And they obviously are using the extra time for polish, which is a good thing, because that means, again, with that confidence level that they are satisfied and happy with what the core gameplay is going to be, right? They don't have to worry about that. Now it's just a matter of getting it as perfect as possible. So for me, I was happy to see that. Far Cry to me is junk food. It's one of those things that I will always go back to and play. It's just nothing that I need day one. I will wait till the classic, Ubisoft sales happen when you can get the full package for about $30 down the road, and then I'll play Far Cry 6. For me, I was a little underwhelmed. I'm going to be true here. I know you love the series, Mab, and I know how you feel about it, obviously, but I was underwhelmed. It definitely is Far Cry, and again, I don't have an issue with it being Far Cry because, again, I'm glad it's still Far Cry with what Ubisoft has been doing lately. You never know what you're going to get, so I'm glad they have not changed that formula yet. But at the same time, since this was Series X footage, I was expecting a little bit uptick in the graphics, and what I saw, I was like, okay, they're good. I just was expecting a little bit more out of that. I know there's some more, the world seems a little more dense than it has been in the past, and I think that that probably has something to do with it. But at the same time, I was expecting a little bit better. That the whole boat scene with them fighting the planes, that was like, ooh, that does not look
a little dated.
Yeah, a little dated. But again, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You know me. Graphics are great and all, but I'm not a graphics whore. I just like fun, and I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's old games. I don't care where. If I'm having fun, I don't give a shit what it looks like. So for me, I don't care. But again, I'm excited. I can't wait to see, kind of where the story goes. And I want to see. I'm really excited to see all the new weapons. That's always the fun part about Far Cry. What you can actually do, the chaos you can kind of cause, is the best part for me. So can't wait to see more. But like I said, will I be picking it up day one? Nope, I won't. I'll be watching your streams, living vicariously through you.
Right on, dude. Hey, I'll be happy to provide that for you.
I know you will.
Psycho, dude, did you have a chance to check out the gameplay?
No, I didn't watch the gameplay. But I read a couple articles about it, and
it's been a lot of articles. Like, people are like this has caught a lot of people's attention. Surprisingly.
Yeah. The one thing that I read I didn't like to see was the fact that they changed the ammo. So like taking down certain enemies requires certain ammunition. So like heavies, you got to have certain ammo. That will do like let's say you got a sniper, it will one shot a heavy, but that same ammo won't one shot a light guard. So you have to in the midst of a battle, you know, you have to sit there and try to figure out who is who, and switch to that weapon with that ammo type. And I don't know, it doesn't sound like it was very thought out. Like if it's like you know, the enemies were kind of sparse and you know all over the place, that could be all right. But when they come rushing at you and you know you're trying to survive, that could cause a problem and hamper the experience that you're trying to play. So
Yeah, I didn't even hear. I was because I didn't like actually listen to them at all during that whole gameplay thing. I was just watching, so I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
Yeah.
That would be new.
So they said, yeah. So they said that. So if there's heavy guards and light guards, you can't. If you use the ammo for heavies, that won't kill a light as quickly as if you would use for like a heavy. So you have to switch, but you're only allowed to have 4 weapons, and you have so if you have like 7 different enemies on the screen that all take different ammo, well, 4 of them you can be able to take down fairly quickly, and the other 3 you're not. So you got to figure out.
Yeah, I wonder how many different kinds of ammo there are for the enemies. That could play a factor too. Like if there's like 2 or 3, that wouldn't be as big of a deal. But if there is like that many, then I could see that being problematic. You know, like having to manage that. It seems like a little bit of overkill, maybe. You know, for just make a bullet a bullet. You know.
Yeah. And that's what, you know, this article is pretty much was saying is like, yeah, that's like one thing that he did not like to see, that he would definitely want them to change before the release of the game. Because when it gets hectic and crazy, you don't want to sit there and trying to figure out, okay, which weapon has this, you know, for this heavy or, you know, whatever enemy that's coming at you, you know, because you could be going from, you know, what you thought you're going to be a winning situation to a losing situation very quickly. And cause frustration on my end, at least.
That's new. That's new stuff because I don't read anymore.
God damn it! I switched to the slingshot again.
Yeah.
Damn it!
3-bit. It's a 3-bit. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey,
Glad to see you made it. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Pretty good.
Doing
Busy.
Busy.
But pretty good. I agree with what Psycho said.
Yeah, about the web.
I don't know.
Did you happen to see the Far Cry 6 gameplay?
Not from the official Ubisoft game, but I have seen gameplay. Yes. I do like how they're the protagonist is speaking again. That is nice. And I also like how the setting of it when you first start on. I'm trying to figure out what Ubisoft showed, but did she start on the beach?
This was like an hour-long thing that they did the other day, and it was only for Far Cry. Like they just did a stream where they just sat there and showed like an hour of Far Cry gameplay clips, and they kind of talked about the game. And I did like a live reaction thing where I was watching it and kind of with the audience and stuff. But like it was a surprising amount of gameplay they showed, right? Like this game's not out for another month, you know. We got like a whole hour worth of footage, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I would suggest checking it out. But what are your thoughts on them giving us that much footage in a month before release? Just straight up, hey, here's what it is.
I mean, whenever you have a company show lots of footage or something, it means they're very confident about it. They are confident with the state of the game enough to show you something that's unreleased and these freaking 3-bit emojis. And when the game comes out, you can expect them to maybe polish it from there, you know. Like we pretty much have the game's in a pretty good state. I think I heard you basically talking about how the engine could probably use some rework here and there. When you saw like the foliage, I think I remember a bit of your stream when you were talking about that. But for the most part, I think the game itself is it's in a pretty good state right now. I like the Far Cry series. I always thought they what people tend to like about them is the villains, right? There's always like Voss and some of the other villains they introduced, with Troy Baker being, I think, the one in the fourth game. And I always appreciate the villains, but I also appreciated how with each game it's very much about the setting they're in. The third one and the original Far Cries are all about the island, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like they are sort of bringing some homages back from the older Far Cries, but also mixing it up. Like you have the cute dog companion, and you also have like interesting weapons with the like the music disc and stuff like that. And the protagonist seems to be speaking a lot. And that's always a thing with first person games. Like, should the protagonist talk or not? Because you yourself are the protagonist. And I always am in separate boats depending on the character, but it is kind of cool that this character has personality. Yeah, looking forward to it. I don't know what you guys already spoke on, but it's looking like a pretty solid game so far.
Cool. Basically, they're kind of saying that, hey, they look cool, they look good, but it's also they're a little underwhelmed. And like Noof is like not a big Far Cry like lover, so it just didn't really do much to like sway him. But he did like 5, but it's a little like it's so. I've seen a lot out there of like a lot of mediocre takes on it, like people saying different things. I'll give my thoughts in a minute. But Kate, did you have a chance to watch any of it?
Yeah, you know, for me, I don't really give a shit.
That's fair enough.
I don't play Far Cry. I
Mhm.
enjoy watching you play it sometimes when you actually like finish it. But other than that, I
You
don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I hear. So, if this had like, if this was a simulator, would you like it? Far Cry.
But it's not a fucking simulator.
I don't know.
I don't like every simulator.
I'm just trying to figure out
This
a way
is-
to make you like Far Cry. All right.
I
That's
don't
fair
not
enough.
like it. I just don't like. It's like I'm impartial. I don't. You know. It's like whatever.
It's a killing in the jungle
The name of?
simulator.
Yeah, that just no.
All right, so
I like to watch you play it. That's it.
yeah. Like, so here's my thing, okay? Like, I've seen a lot of these takes, right? A lot of takes about like, oh, it looks like more Far Cry. You know, like, oh, hey, it's Far Cry. Hey, why is it just more Far Cry? Or like, oh, that sucks. It's just Far Cry. Which it's. I get that if you don't really like Far Cry, that this isn't going to like sell anybody on the game. But I'll say a couple things. Like, yeah, the graphics were a little like underwhelming, like graphically, but for me, that's really not what Far Cry was ever about, right? Far Cry is still a beautiful game with the scenery at times and like the lighting and being in this huge open world, but it seems like they could have amped up the engine and spent a lot of time doing that and stuff, but instead they kind of took the engine that they had, tweaked it a little bit, and filled it up to make the biggest Far Cry game they've ever made with the most stuff and the most dense. And it's not just another Far Cry to me from what I've seen. It's like Far Cry 3 on crack, right? It's like, hey, let's just like, this game is about a sandbox environment, and let's make it the most fun sandbox we can possibly make for Far Cry.
Is there multiplayer? There's no multiplayer, right?
There has been in there wasn't Far Cry 5. I don't even know if they announced
What kind of
Far Cry 6.
multiplayer is it?
They have like team
Like a-
deathmatch and stuff in Far Cry 5.
Oh, really?
Mhm. They've actually had it in Far Cry 1, 2, 3.
Does it
I
usually
don't know if Far
suck?
Cry
Is it
4
usually like
has.
an afterthought?
Yes. But
Okay.
Far Cry originally had this badass map editor And that map editor had a custom. You could do like custom game browsers, and you could also make kind of custom modes.
Yeah, like the Predator mode.
And back in the day, we fucking had a blast with that. It was like some of the most fun multiplayer I've ever played because of that stuff. Making your own maps and all these things. Like the map editor is like best map editor there is. I mean, you're not just like snapping objects and stuff. You're actually deforming the terrain. You know, in Far Cry 2, you could even make tunnels and stuff.
Mav,
like through rocks.
Mav, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
'Cause you always talk about this. How come you never got into Forge then?
Because Forge wasn't as good as the Far Cry map editor.
I know, but it's still
incredible.
it's still pretty dang good. I was just curious.
It's good,
So-
but like so for me, like when I was playing Far Cry Instincts back on the original Xbox, right?
yeah.
I was so into this, making these maps, deforming the terrain, making mountains, making islands,
You can't
carving
do
out
that
tunnels.
in the Forge.
When I
No.
when I went and played Forge, I felt like I was so
You can.
restricted. And
Okay,
that-
on Halo 3, you were pretty restricted. I will, because is that around the time Far Cry?
If Far Cry
came out?
Instincts was on the original Xbox.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
it's the one game that finally got me to stop playing Far Cry 2. I mean Halo 2. Yeah, it's the one game that
I was gonna
finally
say,
it got me to stop finally playing Halo 2, and I jumped onto Far Cry Instincts. I kept trying to tell everybody to come play it with me because like we were having such fun with the multiplayer mode with the custom game browser and the custom maps. I mean, I made like this huge mansion in the woods, like that looked creepy and scary. I made this like ice level. I made these like islands. There's all this stuff you could do with the environment and also the objects, right? And then when I played Forge for the first time, I was limited to the objects.
Right.
And I felt really restricted, and it kind of ruined Forge mode. Not only that, but maneuvering and moving the stuff around wasn't as fluid as it was in the Far Cry editor. So that like it was like, why would I? It felt like a step back in playing in Forge. Now Forge has probably gotten way better since then, but and especially with all the custom stuff they have now. But
Before you weren't able to, like on Halo 3, because I made a lot of maps on Halo 3, you weren't able to have objects float in the air.
yeah,
So what you would have to do is you put an object under it, and let's say you wanted a floating wall. You have
Mhm.
like this big box, you put the wall on top of it, then you delete what's under it,
Right.
and it just stays there. And that's how you would like forge things back then. But since with every iteration, Forge has definitely gotten better. And
yeah.
I think like,
I just wanted to
more
form the
games should do that.
terrain. Like I want to have control over
Mm.
the like actual terrain, like the land, the mountains, the water. You know, like I
Yeah.
want to make my world that is being
Yeah.
lived in, not take a default template and then stick objects on it. That's kind of what I always hoped Forge would become, and they still haven't done that. So, that for me, that was one of the best things about that got me into Far Cry, like hooked into the series. Now that's kind of
Yeah.
like become an afterthought for them, but I still love the gameplay. And Far Cry 6, even though it's not like when I got close to those rocks and I'm like, oh, this looks pretty dated, and I got close to those like crops and I was like, oh, this looks pretty bad. The like overall amount of crap in the game, just stuff everywhere, and know that I'm going to be playing it like at a high resolution and 60 frames is just like, oh my gosh, because Far Cry at 60 frames hits different. I don't, Noof, have you tried Far Cry 5 with the FPS boost?
No, I can't say that I have. I haven't gone back and played that game since pretty much the first few weeks after launch. So
Yeah.
no, I have not. I mean, but you know, when I played it on the Xbox One X, and it performed pretty damn well for me on that particular console. I don't think it ever was at 60 frames a second, but
Yeah, it was
I
like
had no,
30, I think.
I had no major tech flaws when I ran
Yeah.
it on the Series X. It looked really good. I think it was pretty much run at 4K.
Yeah, it did. So the reason I'm asking, because on the One X you get the higher resolution, but you also got like 30 frames, right? And when you get the FPS boost, unfortunately, you don't get the One X enhancement, so it takes it back down to 1080. But you get the 60 frames. And the reason I was asking is because playing Far Cry at 60 frames it just feels so much different. It for some reason that game engine just at 60 frames it makes a huge difference with like that feeling of
Yeah.
the responsiveness of the gameplay. And I'm hoping that translates in this because I've only played it with FPS boost, and we know that FPS boost sometimes can be kind of like magic with games, and it's just like completely change the feeling of it. So I'm hoping this actually feels the same as it does with the FPS boost. But yeah, I feel like I'm gonna get the best of both worlds, right? Like this dense
Mhm.
Far Cry environment to just do whatever I want in and have a blast, but also at a high resolution playing at 60 frames on Series X. So that's what I was thinking when I was watching the gameplay, not necessarily picking apart the graphics as much, which I think a lot of people did. But it's just like I feel like this is where I'm going with this. Do we always need games to change to the point to where they seem ultra new, or do we necessarily are we okay with them staying the same but progressing forward as that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think
if it's a running series,
yeah, I
right?
think a lot of people are disappointed that this is another Far Cry game, but it's Far Cry 6. So I don't. That's what I don't
Yeah.
understand. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Well, Gears of War has gone through that
Yeah.
already, right? We hear that
Mhm.
all the time. It's too much like Gears, and other people, it's not enough like Gears. So, like, which is it? Which one? And you get that with Halo a lot. Well, I know it's not enough like Halo 3. Oh no, it's too much like Halo. It's not enough like Halo. I think you're gonna get a lot of fans like that on each side of the fence, no matter what. People expecting too much, people expecting a lot more familiarity. So it's always a fine line to tread, and you're never going to please both camps. I think you just gotta. At the end of the day, you gotta stay true to what makes each franchise great, and you basically build on the strengths that you had, and try to get rid of the things that made that were perhaps critically or game from a gamer's perspective, things that perhaps they didn't like about sequels or the last few games prior to. So you get rid of the filler and put in a little more thriller, and and just add to it, and hopefully you're going to get a fantastic game out of it one way or the other. And like I said, I don't think they've made a bad Far Cry game since they've come out. It's just,
Yeah.
again, it's what do you want from it? What do you expect? I liked the fact with Far Cry 5, you had the Seed family, how they were all, tied together, but all uniquely twisted in their own right. That was one of the things I liked with it. They haven't deviated much from the play mechanic side of things, and of course the Ubisoft engine, I forget which one they're using, but it looks and plays relatively well. So I mean, that's always a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's like if you're a Far Cry like lover and love what Far Cry is, this made you happy. If you were looking for something to be wowed, right, then you came away disappointed, right? It depends, I think, on how into like. So is that maybe it's a mistake because they're limiting themselves to the market, right? Maybe they're not putting themselves out there enough, and what I fear is this negative connotation that's kind of out there now will potentially impact the sales, which then Ubisoft will look at it and say, well, Far Cry doesn't sell anymore. Okay, so we're not going to be making any more of these franchises like they've done with their other single player games. Right? So it's kind of like a concern to me with that, and I'm hoping that this doesn't carry over into the release to affect the future of the franchise. Because I actually saw somebody even say on a comment when I was talking about Far Cry 6, it's like, hey, this looks awesome. He's like, and he said, oh, another Ubisoft formula game with outposts and stuff. I'm like, Far Cry invented that formula. Like that, they took that formula and implemented it in other franchises from Far Cry.
Yeah.
Now, Ghost Recon doesn't need it, right? They put it in Ghost Recon. They put it in other franchises that don't need it. But Far Cry, that's what it was. Like, why be upset that they changed that's in Far Cry when that's always what's been in Far Cry, right? So
And they
that's
don't know what they're talking about.
And that's always an interesting discussion whenever you want someone to change something out of a franchise that people like they love certain things about Far Cry that maybe have made them attached to that whole different franchise, right?
Mhm.
But you also have things like Madden,
Mhm.
where they need to change the formula, or some people feel like with Gears of War they really need to change the formula, where we've had Gears 1, 2, 3, 4, and people feel like we're ready for something different. I feel like Halo is an interesting example because I feel like they changed it
Yeah.
a lot.
Dramatically. Yeah.
Well,
Dramatically.
they made a
Yeah.
new engine, right? I think that's what's required on a lot of these games to really make that impact. It's you got to like kind of build something new, like from the ground up, and
Yeah.
that also leads to issues, long development times, um, problems with getting stuff finished in time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's like always like a balance. Like I feel like with Far Cry, they chose where to spend their resources this time, and it was with staying pretty much true to what they've been doing, but just making a bigger and better version of that. And I think a lot of people are disappointed in that.
I guess here's the deal, man. Far Cry itself has been so successful. I don't think you have to worry about Ubisoft saying, well, no more Far Cry. I mean, Far Cry 4 and Far Cry 5 each sold over 10 million copies, right?
Right.
I don't know if they're going to replicate that this time around, but I don't think it has to do with the formula or people kind of being disappointed. I think at this point now, some of these games, especially the older franchises that have been around for a while, that took advantage of last gen, where there was a lot of still periods of time where there was a lack of content. I think that they might suffer just from the standpoint that there's so much content now, so much competition right now for people's time, that going forward, it's going to be hard, I should say harder for those older franchises to continue what they've always done and expect the same exact amount of sales, right? I think that that's going to be the challenge for a lot of publishers and development teams going forward is how do we position our game to be something different when we now are competing against on a monthly basis, 5 new releases, 10 new releases. How are we going to compete with that? And if we throw out the same thing, is that going to be good enough to bring, all the old fans back and maybe a couple new fans with them? Or are we going to get lost in the shuffle because of people put it on, on their backlog and say, well, this is something I'll play later down the road, right? Kind of like where I'm at with Far Cry. Like, well, maybe this one can wait because I've got this new game in a new setting that I've never played before that I want to hit this month, right? I think that's where there might be some struggles this gen, because with the way things are looking, with how much money is being pumped into this industry right now and how much content we see, not, again, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg right here, but we've already looked on paper for 2022 and 2023. It's ridiculous. And I think some of these older franchises might struggle to find their spot. If they don't look to kind of renew themselves and to try to change up maybe some of the old formulas, or to come out with some new system that makes it more unique.
Yeah.
I think I could see that happening. But as far as Far Cry going away, I don't think that you're going to see that, brother. I think it's been too solid for too long.
I guess what I'm more afraid of is not it going away.
Yeah.
But
them
it
changing to something
to an unrecognizable thing that Ubisoft is doing with a lot of their
games of service, multiplayer,
right
hub
now.
world, like Assassin's Creed, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's all going to come down to dollars and cents. We've already seen what they're willing to do to the Clancy brand. Right.
Correct.
They're right now they have no it's almost like they don't care what they do. It's just all about the money. If you look at X Defiant and what that is, that's just again, I've used this. If I don't know if you guys have seen Peter Rabbit 2. We actually went and saw it to take my daughter, but there's a scene where the artist is gets of Peter Rabbit. She gets pitched to this marketing guy that wants to buy her book and stuff, and publisher that wants to get it out everywhere. And he starts making suggestions like, "Hey, put Peter in high tops," And then that's like what X Defiant feels like. It's just like losing completely the purity of what it is about entirely. Shout out to Micah Ford with the $20 super chat. He says, "Gotta go, ladies and gentlemen, but you'll have a great podcast." Hey, dude, you rock, man. Thank you so much for the support. Appreciate you, 100%, dude. I hope you have a great night. And Mark Cardwell as well. Thank you, sir, for the $5 super chat. You rock as well. He says, "Every new game has to reinvent the wheel. You can only do that so many times before it just get needlessly complicated." Good show, guys. Yeah. So it's like sometimes it's like, hey, this franchise is what it is, and it's going to evolve and grow for that franchise. Now, like, could Far Cry 6 have some better visuals? Yeah. Are they maybe limited by the engine that they're in and what they're trying to accomplish with how big and dense they're trying to make it? Maybe that's how they chose to spend the resources and make sure they could get out the game like at a reasonable time. So who knows exactly what goes into these decisions. I just hope that it doesn't cost us traditional Far Cry in the future.
I personally think Far Cry could benefit usually by going back to a shorter, more linear shooter-based experience as opposed to investing in these big open world style games that really start to lose track of its narrative after a while. Like, like they take a longer time to play and think that's just my thought, because essentially Far Cry has always been built as a first person shooter, story-based first person shooter, in the vein of the Call of Duty games. And it's only in the last couple of years they really branched out and did this sort of semi-open world kind of aspect where you kind of do things on your own accord. And while I think some people may find that fun, I also think that it's part of the problem. I'm not sure if Far Cry has an identity anymore. I think it suffers from an identity crisis, and that's also because, one, it doesn't continue the story of a particular protagonist. It has different villains on every game. So what's it trying to be? Like, who is it trying to please? I guess that's the question. Like Halo always has Master Chief. Gears always essentially has, its people. Like most of these franchises, well, I mean, Call of Duty always changes it too. And I don't know if Far Cry is supposed to be Ubisoft's version of Call of Duty, but the difference between the two is that while they're both amazing shooters and games in their own right, Call of Duty, is a phenomenon. It's gathered such an audience. It doesn't matter how bad Call of Duty turns out being; it always ends up being a popular game. And Far Cry doesn't unfortunately have that luxury, like where they can come out and just be like, "Oh, it's Far Cry," so everybody buys it. It doesn't have that luxury, unlike Call of Duty, which will sell no matter if you put a bag of shit and a bullet in the bag, people will still buy it.
Far Cry, so like just to kind of go off of some of the stuff, like so Far Cry Instincts on the Xbox was linear because of the limitations of the console, but like the PC version was actually open world, and then every Far Cry besides the original Xbox version was been open world. So Far Cry Instincts on Xbox wasn't, but Far Cry on the PC was, and then Far Cry 2, Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4, Far Cry 5, and including the spin-offs Primal and Blood Dragon and New Dawn. They're all open world games and have been. But the as far as what they go by, they did start going more with a story-based experience with 3 when they introduced Voss, and that villain isolated like storyline where they really focused on the narrative really clicked with people. And since then, since Far Cry 3, the villain has been like one of the staples of Far Cry. So every Far Cry has ever since Far Cry 3 has to have that villain, and that's where a lot of that big story element comes in now. So along the way, they've like added elements that have become staples, but they've all retained the core aspect of that sandbox open world gameplay that it was originally founded on, which was originally founded by Crytek, the makers of Crysis, because that was their game. That's why it's called Far Cry, because Crytek actually made Far Cry for Ubisoft back in the day, and they did such a good job, but Ubisoft retained the rights and then continued to make games, and they took the Cry engine and then turned it into the Dunia engine, So it's still a version of the Cry engine from back in the day. They added stuff and they've done a good job, but they're still limited to that basis of what Crytek originally invented back in the day. And that's kind of why it's like hamstrung right now, because I think for them to build a brand new engine, it would be a pretty big undertaking, considering they're still using a modified version of that old school sandbox engine from Crytek.
And
So,
a lot of money they don't
a
want to
lot
spend.
of money. Yeah.
Yeah, because I liked Far Cry Instinct, the whole Predator vision and everything. That's what I
fun.
loved about that first one. And map editor, holy crap. I don't know how many hours I spent making maps and playing with friends. That's the one thing I loved. I didn't play 3. I played a little bit of 4, wasn't a huge fan. 5 was pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested in
I
seeing
think
what.
for a lot of people, like 3 was their first like real introduction into Far Cry, because it kind of took that. It was a popular franchise before that, but 3 made it like hugely mainstream because of the marketing with the villain and Voss and stuff, and how much response it had with the, what the definition of insanity is. Like that whole thing, like the trailer and stuff just caught everybody. It really took off, right? So that there's rumors that this game actually ties to that.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at the aesthetics and stuff that's going on, watching in that gameplay reveal of Far Cry 6, and you look at stuff that's going on with a lot of things, even like some of the way they're choosing to use the colors and stuff for like enemies and targeting and markers and stuff, it looks like Far Cry 3. So I found that very interesting. That's why I keep saying it looks like Far Cry 3 on crack. And shout out to Enrique B-Rap with the $5 super chat. It says, Mav, what would you do if you ran out of toilet paper? Asking for a friend. I knew this would come back to bite me in the ass. Hey, shout out to him. I would I don't you want to answer this, babe?
I don't think she's there.
She's gone.
She's gone.
She'll be right back.
Oh, she said be right back. Okay. Whew. All right. Yeah, I would if you didn't catch, we did a little coffee talk with Mav and Kate this morning on Twitter Spaces, and this conversation somehow got brought up. I don't even remember, but it ended up basically me using things that I shouldn't be using to take care of the situation, and not telling Kate, and then throwing it in the washing machine.
I would have hopped
like
my
hand
ass in the
towels?
shower. I would just hopped in the shower. What are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, that's a good idea. But see, and mentally though, when I think about that, I think of like my half bath that doesn't have a shower in it. Because that's
you got a
where
sink though.
That's I shit in the guest bathroom. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't. I don't go into the one with the shower. So I don't know.
God.
Shout out! I told him this morning that this was going to come back to bite me, and it did. And Kate missed it, so that's good. All right. Any other thoughts on Far Cry 6? Are y'all like, what's your hype meter right now? Because mine's like a 10.
Mine's
not
a
at 10.
6. It's a 6. For me.
Like, I'm looking forward to the game.
Yeah.
But
like it's like I really liked Far Cry 5, and I enjoyed my experience with that game. I liked Far Cry 3 a lot, of course. Everyone, I think, like you said, started with 3, and then they kind of like spiraled their experience from there. There's just so many games out that are coming out this year. It's ridiculous. My hype for Halo, this is how I measure things, like Halo versus like everything else, right? Just because I'm a fanboy of Halo. So my hype for Halo is 10. So I would say this is probably like a 8 or 7.
Right.
See, my issue is that at least with 5, there was so much to do. I got lost interest in the game itself because there's so much to do. So going over here, going over. I probably could have just stayed linear to the story, but I have OCD and freaking and it's like, oh, side mission, I got to go do it, and it was just like it felt a little overwhelming, and I was just like, yeah, and I just lost interest in the game after a little bit more than halfway. I didn't even finish it. I was just like,
Yeah.
so many games came out at that time, and I was just like, let's play with that.
So Noof, you said a 5. You're on mute.
Correct. That's exactly what I said. 5. All right, I got cats fucking running all around my computer.
Oh, okay, no worries, dude. 5 for Noof. I hear 6 of 7s, man. And I feel like this level of excitement for it is permeating throughout the gaming community.
Yeah.
That's why if you understand that, that's why I'm concerned about it, because everybody's kind of I know we don't speak for like the casual audience, right? That's just going to see Far Cry. Oh, Far Cry, bye, But seems like
I
there's
also think
less hype than the previous.
I think if this game was coming out toward the start of the year, like in the first couple of
Yes.
months where things are typically slow,
Mm-hmm.
which was originally supposed to, right?
Correct.
This has missed its release date several times. We probably would be. I think it's where it comes out, and sure, it's not right in the heart of the whole Halo Infinite and the Battlefield and stuff, but it's in October month, but still you got, somebody said in the chat earlier, you got Back for Blood, and like I said, you got Battlefield, then you got Call of Duty, you got freaking Halo, several major shooters all within, the run of a couple of months, not to mention all the games that fall in between that, like the single player stuff. This is the thing. Far Cry is a great game. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It just gets lost in the shuffle. And this year might be the worst time. Like I don't know if it's a good release or a bad release, but I think if it had to come out in March or April month, this game would have definitely been standing on a different pedestal.
Yeah. Mentally, I don't know. I just guess I always, like, for me, because of how I have always felt, I feel like Far Cry is like one of these like major, massive tentpole franchises. You know what I mean?
That's your nostalgia. There's nothing wrong with that, man. We've all
it's like
we've all
living in
got
this
it.
alternate reality. Or like,
We've all got it.
Yeah.
We've all got our favorite franchises, right? That's just, it happens from time to time. You find one of those, and it's like, why isn't it as big as to everybody else as it is to me? Oh yeah, that's right, because I just loved it for different reasons. That's okay. It happens, but I think that's why you're feeling that. I think it's still going to sell well. I think it'll still do well. I just think right now there's just so much else to look at, and everybody's chasing, everybody's a squirrel out here when it comes to games. Like, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. And I think Far Cry, like Noof just said, had it come out in April, I think it definitely would have gotten the same type of feeling that you are getting personally, because you maintain that hype. No matter what, your hype levels, no matter what, you just hear the name and you're like, oh yeah, Far Cry.
Yeah,
I think for a lot of
Halo,
people, it just depends when it is. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I just think that's why you're kind of feeling this. But I think for everybody else, it's just they're drowning and looking ahead at all these different games coming out, and Far Cry is just getting kind of lost in there. But I still think it's going to do well.
Yeah, I would like to get 3-Bit's opinion on, with what I was talking about earlier with the weapon ammo, having different ammo for different enemies. So I don't know if you know about that 3-Bit, but they were talking about how heavies have certain ammos that take them down. Light guards have certain ammo, and so on and so forth. That kind of takes away from the experience, because that was never in Far Cry before that I ever remembered. So
yeah,
it could add to the variety for sure. I think hopefully people don't get annoyed by it, but it could be like a really cool thing where it forces you to just try different things, and it's always harder in like sort of realistic games. Not that Far Cry is like completely realistic, but when you have a franchise like, say, Call of Duty, and you try to do different enemy types, it's like, does that really fit for this genre of games? Like when you think about Halo, you have jackals who have like shields, you have the hunters, right? There's a big bosses, and it makes sense for that universe. But for Far Cry, it can kind of experiment a little bit, but it'll be interesting for this specific franchise for them to try the different weapon types. So we'll see how it feels in the final game. I think it's a cool idea. And like you said, with the other Far Cries, I would just get overwhelmed sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
always appreciated them adding all that for the people who like who can get really invested in that franchise, they have a lot to look forward to. So I think like with Mav, he's looking at all the new features they're adding, and he's a fan of the previous installments, and now they're doing that plus more. It's going to be like a good time. It's not that I'm not looking forward to the game. There's just so, like Pong was saying, there's just so much
Debbie Downers
coming up. I'm not.
No, I'm just kidding.
I think the game's gonna be great. You know, there's a lot of I am looking forward to. First off, I love the villain's actor's name, and everything he's in, like Breaking Bad and all that. And he was also in this other movie I watched, and he's an amazing actor. So I'm looking forward to his portrayal as the villain. Looking forward to a lot of the different weapon customization and the setting. Looking forward to seeing how the protagonist fits within the overall story. And yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot with this game. It's just there's so much coming out, where it's like Dying Light. You know?
Yeah,
I'm
so much.
really looking forward to it. There's just
If you don't
so
mind me
much.
adding something here, all I can say is here's what Far Cry all it needs to do is stand on its own, and that means it comes out to phenomenal reviews, perhaps one of the best Far Cry experiences ever. That's the thing. And when, like you said, with Giancarlo Esposito there, like phenomenal actor leading the way through it. I think, like I said, that's a big thing. And I'll give you a case in point. Let's look at Psychonauts 2. Right? Everybody's raving about that game right now. But go back a couple of months ago, and it was pretty lukewarm, wasn't it? I mean, that was my perception. Was most people, Psychonauts 2 is coming, Double Fine. Yeah. I didn't hear a lot of podcasts or YouTubers playing up Psychonauts hardly at all. Up until it came out now, and the Metacritic scores have been really good, and a lot of prominent people are saying good things about it, and the community's playing it and posting it all over social media. And now Psychonauts 2 is on the radar. Can you imagine now if they make Psychonauts 3, the pressure and now the stuff that will come with that? So Far Cry is much in the same boat. Sometimes it's a good thing that it can slide under the radar, that it's coming out with a little less expectation, because they can shatter those expectations. That's the thing. It's easier to come out on sort of a little bit on the level, on the radar, and kind of people like just slide under, and people don't really care one way or the other. Because then you just make the game, you concentrate on just making it the best it can be and let things fall where they may. But when you come up with, like the hype that Halo has right now, it's absolutely insane. Whether it's good hype or bad hype, it's still hype. And people are going to either tear the asshole right out of that game, or they're going to love it to pieces. It's going to be one or the other, and very few in between. And I think, again, Far Cry, if it just comes out, it's a competent game. It looks good. It plays good. It's got great story, great character. And again, people start raving about, like, man, I've just played Far Cry. You got to try this game. This one's on another level. It could change the perception in the community.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. And one other thing I want to add to this before we move on. I just really appreciate the fact that they just sat down, showed us long gameplay clips of an hour of the game, unapologetically. This is what it is. Like, just raw footage, right? Like, there's no hiding things. There's no trying to, hide things behind, trailers that are cut very specifically to only highlight what they want you to see. These are just long gameplay clips. We actually know what we're getting when we purchase the game, whether it's for you or not. I really respect that they did that. And I think regardless of, I mean, they probably know the shortcomings that it has, right? But I think they are confident in what they've built, and it came across watching that. So I'm hoping that it's enjoyable for everybody. Shout out to CLoWnZ at 4GQ TV, sir. Thank you so much for a $5 super chat. It says, any Mavywine songs lately? Can Arnold do a duet with Mavywine? It's funny you say that. If you check out Halo Incomplete, it is a song that is dedicated to Halo. It's on the channel. It is actually from the Mav Street Boys. Not Mavywine. This is the Mav Street Boys, and instead. So yeah, maybe we could get an Arnold and Mavywine duet with. There's been talks of Psychonauts as well, because he's now a famous singer after his rendition of Aquarius last week. So that may happen as well. Who knows? We'll
keep
see
your
what's
eyes
coming.
out, folks.
Yeah, but Halo Incomplete. It's all about the woes of the community and Halo. And shout out also to Alex is the Valve with the $7 super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, just wanted to say hi to this amazing panel and chat. Also, how about that Psychonauts? Yeah, Psychonauts is taking the world by storm. Getting a lot of people talking game of the year, great reviews, a lot of people having fun. It is a great game. I'm having a blast with it as well.
Yeah, it's jumping up my game of the year for sure. Right now it's still It Takes Two, but Psychonauts is like it's like going like this.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure. It's such a good game.
I get like lost with
that's
what to
far.
do sometimes with Psychonauts. Like that's the only thing. Like I don't know where to go or how to like solve it. I think that could be like some better visual markers at times, just to kind of like assist with some of that. Like maybe clever things with the level design or whatever. But other than that, I mean, like it's a freaking amazing.
That's because you're supposed to be psychic.
All right, Raz. Xberk, shout out. He says golf and fun speak. Are you playing golf right now, Xberk? Right on. So guys, we got it. Like, wow, we've actually been talking about Far Cry for an hour. Holy shit! How did that happen?
Because this is your show.
Oh, that's true. Is that what happened? Okay. I guess so. That makes sense. Hey, let's go. Far Cry 7. What can we expect?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Look into the future.
Garbage. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I did. Man, we got so much more to get to. Hey, this was a good time for Kill It. We're bringing this back, guys. If you're familiar with the show, we used to do this a lot. Every week,
Yes.
I would pick a genre or a topic, and I would have certain things. Now, here's the catch. I'm going to list some things here, and the panel is forced to annihilate this one of these from existence. It cannot, like, if you say this is going, it's not just about what's coming today or the games that exist today. It's about the games from the past. You're erasing it from people's history, from people's minds. This franchise no longer exists. Okay? So you have to kill it, erase it, annihilate it. No, you're forced to pick one, so this is not fair. But I want to know what this is. And shout out to the Twitter Spaces this morning that we did the coffee talk with Matt and Kate, because
Zelda.
they picked racing as the genre. So I came up with some racing games, and to make this fair, one of them is more than one game. You'll see what I'm saying. Okay? Or you have to erase one from history.
Right.
Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon. For some reason, I wrote Forza Horizon 5. I mean the franchise. Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, Gran Turismo. Now, what I did here for the next one, because I was trying to come up with a fourth racing game that can stand up to those, right? And I just couldn't do it. So here's what I did. I said EA racing games.
Yeah, like Burnout, Need for Speed.
That this includes all of them. Okay, Burnout, Need for Speed, and you have to think EA owns Codemasters now, so that includes Dirt and all of the Codemasters racing games, Project Cars, all those are included in the EA racing games. So you have to pick between Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, Gran Turismo, or EA's racing game catalog.
Why'd you pick two Forzas?
Because they're both worthy.
But it's still the same franchise.
This is easy for me.
It's a very different game.
Same
Like,
here.
This is
I
easy.
thought we had this.
Oh, Psycho, are we on the same?
This is easy.
This is extremely easy.
Okay.
You guys aren't all going to pick Gran Turismo, are you? Okay,
No.
Nukem.
Yes.
Psycho.
What racing game are you going to erase from history? Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, Gran Turismo, or all of EA's racing games?
Well, if you had to pick just one from EA, it would have been easy. But the fact that they do have a lot of renowned racing games within that portfolio, everything from Need for Speed, right on down to things like Grid from Codemasters and F1, you name it, and there and so forth. So I'm going to have to say Gran Turismo. It's the one that I would erase from history because it has fallen by the wayside. It is no longer the prestigious racing game that it once was. So that is why I'm going to get rid of that one.
Okay.
Yep.
And the history of it. Wow. Okay. It's gone. In Nukem's world, Gran Turismo does no longer exist.
I think
Right.
same for all of us,
Wow.
besides you, maybe.
Well, this is
Yeah.
getting interesting. I'm gonna feel really weird in a few minutes. Okay.
Who goes next?
All right, Kate, pick one.
Gran Turismo.
Shit. Okay. A 3-bit.
Yeah, Gran Turismo.
Psych-
And,
Yeah. You want to say why?
no. I'm just gonna.
Okay. Psycho.
Gran Turismo, because it's been irrelevant. It's been out of our minds for a very long time anyway. So later.
Okay. And Pong Soul.
Yeah, everybody's spot on. So Gran Turismo, just
There's a
downhill for a long time. So
Shit.
gone.
Yeah. There you go.
I did not expect
Just for
this.
you, Faz.
I did not expect this. I mean, I know this is an Xbox show, but I mean, we just all annihilated one of PlayStation's most famous franchises of all time.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Now, if you didn't do all of EA's, that would have been different. But I mean,
I mean,
Underground
like, you
was
can't.
probably
If I
one of
put
the
Need
best.
for Speed in there, like
Hot
Need for Speed's
Pursuit.
dead right now. Like,
Yeah, babe,
No.
Rick Payne made a good point. Can you put a poll in the chat? When you do this, you should put a poll in the chat also.
okay, one is dead forever.
Just
And-
put kill one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
God,
Kill,
make it
okay.
easy.
Kill one.
I was just explaining him to this earlier. He overcomplicates everything.
I don't overcomplicate. So come on now.
Let me go with paragraph explaining. Kill one.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you did kill 2, that would be kind of hard.
I
Psycho,
like this. I like this this fun speculation guy, man. He cool. I like that how he overcomplicates the situation, you know.
Maybe.
Man, I tell you. Yeah, that's right. I bet you must be a while back on your dates, man. You must be awesome. Overcomplicate. You want to go for dinner? I ain't no McDonald's for you, baby. No, we're gonna have a real serious conversation there.
No, you should know what I used to
Going
cook,
to the
what I
Sizzler.
used to cook for Kate when we first got together. I'm not.
What, the
I'm not a
microwave
chef.
hot dogs?
I'm not a chef.
Or
So
the opposite.
a piece of white bread, cut some slits
You
in a
stuck
hot
it in the
dog, stuck it on the
toaster.
bread, put some cheese on there, and then.
Well, you cooked the fucking hot dog first. You cooked it in the
Oh, yeah,
microwave and it turned into like a fucking rainbow.
All right, there's the poll, guys. There's the poll. We'll see what you guys.
Rick said Mav is a complex.
I'm
dude.
complex. I'm complex. All right. All right.
That couldn't be further from the truth. But all right.
Are you saying I'm simple? Are you saying I'm simple? Okay. All right. Now, fucking A, guys. You had to.
What are you killing? You're gonna kill all of EA?
Why did you
Yeah.
stop the poll?
I didn't.
Oh,
No, it
Just-
Yeah.
it
Just
minimizes
Yeah.
itself.
I was
Nothing.
kidding.
Nothing holds a candle to those 3 games. From EA's lineup. Now I have some. Well, fuck. Okay.
Didn't even.
I didn't think this through before I wrote it out. Okay.
No.
Weird.
No.
Because I was just remembering like
You
Need
complex
for Speed
man, you.
Underground and Need for Speed Underground 2 and Need for Speed Hot Pursuit back in the day. Okay. So I'm gonna kill. Oh, guys are gonna fucking kill me for this. Forza Horizon.
You're
Jesus,
fucking
what?
lying.
No.
You're such
You're
a
lying.
fucking liar.
You're
Out
You're
of
lying.
your
just trying to
mind.
be different.
Nope.
Like
I would.
you're
I
a
love
fucking
it.
Contrarian.
phony.
I love.
we
you.
just got a
Mm.
downvote.
I
We just
love-
got
That
a
means you
downvote.
can't play the new one coming out.
I love Forza
banned.
Horizon. I'm super. It's like one of my top anticipated games coming this year. But if I look back at the most fun I've had playing racing games, they've come from all those other franchises, including Forza Motorsport, not Forza Horizon. I'm
Which
more of a
one did you
motorsport
play more recent? Did you play Horizon more recent or a Gran Turismo game?
Well, I'm talking about the history too, like Gran.
Exactly.
Come on now, Gran Turismo 1 and 2, and Gran Turismo 4 also. Like they were like.
Yeah,
Oh
but
my
after
God.
that,
Yeah,
after that,
I agree. They suck now. Like they got to come out with the game.
But
They
you-
take like 20 years to make a new game,
But
and
you
then it's
can go
always
back
under
and
par.
play Forza and get a very close even the older Forzas and get a very close experience. So why the hell would you kill off the one unique racer?
Because it's like memories, nostalgia.
Right?
It's like one of my favorite things of all time. I don't know, man. I like because with the EA I can do like Need for Speed Underground, which is kind of Forza Horizon-y.
It's not.
I know, but I gotta pick one.
Oh my god.
I did this to myself. I gotta pick one. I don't know, man. I can't kill Gran Turismo. I fucking love Gran Turismo. I can't do it. I can't do
Nostalgia.
it. I
Look
gotta
at you.
pick, I
Full
gotta
of
pick
it.
one. I know. I'm sorry. I've lost my mind, guys. I'm fucking nuts. Okay.
Well,
That's crazy. That means you can't play the new one come out. You've seen the trailer and it just disappeared. Wherever when you try to play it,
it's hard.
Just like
It crushes
an
my
error.
soul. It crushes my soul that
Apparently-
I can't play that game now because well, actually I ceased it to its existence for everybody. I hope they don't come after me.
Playground, if you guys are listening, please ban his gamer tag from Horizon.
No review copies for this, man.
Clown says, how much of a bribe would it take for you to change your mind? I'm sorry. I love Gran Turismo.
Not
I can't
much.
kill it. And I can't kill the entire EA library now that Codemasters is part of it. And also they have Need for Speed and Burnout. Shit. I did this to myself.
Am I the only person? I got to put my hand up on one thing with Gran Turismo. This goes back from the beginning right up till the current generation of the game. Does anyone else really can't stand the music in Gran Turismo? Like you feel like you're at some weird, wacky, tacky jazz club. I don't know. It just compared to every other racing game, the music is so uninspiring and so it does not make me want to go out and rip up the roads. You know what I mean?
To be honest, I always
haven't heard
turned
it.
down. I always turned down the music back in the day on Gran Turismo because I was too interested in the engine sounds because they were the first racing game to get the engine sounds proper.
Y'all
you could tell
remember
each car.
in Gran Turismo 1 having to buy a piece of shit car?
Oh yeah, of course.
And
That's
then
the way you did
and
it.
it had like 90,000 miles on it or whatever. And it's like a 240 SX or something, and it's like dirty and ugly as shit, right? And you had to upgrade that, and you were forced to use that car for a while, and then you finally get enough money, and it's like when you get to that point of being able to afford a new car, you actually like, man, I'm gonna fucking miss using this car because you've been through so much together. You know what I mean? I haven't had that with another racing game since. Like,
no, I never had that feeling actually.
That you never did? Maybe it was just me. I don't know.
I couldn't wait to buy the new car.
I mean, I got oil changes.
Exactly.
You know, like,
I was on to the new and better thing.
Well, now you play a racing game and you got like 50 cars thrown at you out the ass like right away, and it's like there's no like sense of like having to work for it, right? Like I really loved that like grind aspect of like where it mattered, right? That was something special.
That's like
about
real
it.
life, you know?
Yeah,
Playing
that's
a
what I
fucking
liked
video
about
game.
it though.
So then from here on out, when Motorsport comes out next year, Mav, when you're streaming it, I expect you to play only with one car. I expect you to ignore all the other cars.
No, I can't because they keep giving them to me. There's like
no, they don't exist.
There's like slot machines and shit just going off all over the place, throwing cars at my ass now.
Too bad.
Like, I played the game for 5 minutes and I got $1 million and I got like 20 cars. Like,
you don't get to use it.
I want to
car.
work for it a little bit, you know, like give me that sense of progression, you know, like give me a piece of shit and make me work to get up there. Yeah, I want to climb the ladder to success. You know, I don't know. Fucking hell.
Nobody ever give this guy a job in the racing car. In the racing.
My dream Forza Motorsport would be have to go get a piece of shit like 1982 Honda CRX. If that exists for that year, I don't know. I'm sorry, car guys.
To be real, real, Mav, you and I have had this conversation about the licenses and stuff that were in Gran Turismo, and I agree. I think they should make that a mode. Like if you want to play that way, almost like a hard mode, where you want to actually just have the game do that and piecemeal everything out to you, where you have to earn to the next level and then you get a little something, a new car or whatever, a new part or whatever the case may be. I wouldn't mind that. I think that that could be something cool that they could add down the road for the hardcore. I think that'd be kind of sweet, actually. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, make it
Yeah,
like
I just got to jump in here and say, man, you know what? This Mav guy, he's so out there. I swear to God, he been the first guy that I ever met that would actually go out and buy a smart card. I told Winnebago State that Winnebago State trader. That's the kind of guy Mav is. He gonna do all backwards. Everybody else here agreeing on the same thing, but this guy, he fucking left wing as shit. Let me tell you.
I think for myself.
Well, he eats
I mean,
plain animal crackers, so that explains a lot.
They're the
What
best
would
kind.
be the second
does.
game you would kill, Matt? If you have to
This
kill
mofo is so different. I swear to God, he the only guy that play Animal Crossing and the characters have babies.
If I had to pick two, fuck.
yeah, if you have to pick two.
I'm not making y'all pick two. Fuck you, man. Like, what's going on?
Come
here?
on. No, I gotta know. Because if you're killing Forza Horizon, then what
I don't
want
want to kill it. I forced myself to kill one. Then I would.
Let's change the game. Let's make this kill two.
Oh, dude.
So what would be the second game you kill?
Oh, dude. Come
And we'll
on.
all answer. Okay, we'll be make it
Okay.
fair. We'll all answer.
I don't know if I should answer this question.
I think
Go
he's
for it.
killing off Forza. I think that's what he's
He's
I
killing
love-
off the whole Forza
He's
franchise.
I love
killing
Forza. But I
Forza.
love Forza. But I was thinking back to some of those memories of those some of those EA games. I gotta fuck Forza Motorsports.
gotta fuck
go
what?
to. Okay,
Oh,
So you're completely killing off the Forza franchise.
but just
It's
because of the history,
You
the
wouldn't get rid
nostalgia.
of Gran Turismo at this point.
It's tough because I'm not basing it based on the future. I'm basing it based on the past because remember
You're
we're
not
erasing
going to
it
be
from
playing the
history.
past games. You're going to be playing
I know,
the fucking
but we're
future
erasing
ones.
this from history. And there's
Who
a new Gran
fucking
Turismo game
cares?
coming out, and
well, you can't play any of those
Quit
old
being a
games on the
bitch.
PlayStation because there's no backwards compatibility. So you can't play them anyways.
oh,
Kaitlin,
man.
it's time for you to take over the show.
I
Okay,
love Gran
Mav's
Turismo,
out.
guys. I'm sorry. I love Forza Motorsport. I love Forza Horizon. I think that it's the best. I think Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon are the best racing game franchises of today. 100%. But I can't kill that history that I have, man. I just
Shut
can't.
the
I can't
fuck
do it. All right.
I just want to let everyone know that we got a downtick when Mav said
Yes.
Horizon. Just want to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the rest of you guys?
Forza Horizon, I guess.
Okay. So wait.
Y'all aren't giving
No,
her
first.
shit. What the hell?
Wait,
Because
what was
it's
your
a
first?
4-second pick.
My first was Gran Turismo.
Okay,
Right.
Gran Turismo and then okay.
No, I'm gonna go with Motorsports because I love Horizon over her Motorsports. So
Yeah.
Horizon.
What would you do?
is-
3-bit.
I'm gonna kill Motorsport.
Wow.
Forza.
Wow, you
I'm not
guys
a
are all
racing fan.
frauds. You are all frauds.
I'm killing
Hey,
Gran Turismo.
I don't
Well,
play Motorsports.
also
I
that.
play Horizon more.
Noof,
So-
come on.
If I was going to kill another one, it would be Forza Motorsport.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Because the similarities between Forza Motorsport and Gran Turismo, they have the most similarity, and because again he conglomerated all the EA games under one umbrella, and I do happen to like several of the Need for Speed
Yep.
franchise quite a bit.
Sure.
There's also now having Codemasters, which really elevates their racing pedigree. I mean, I love games like Grid. Grid's always been one of my favorite racers, bar none. There's
It's a great
there's
game.
multitude in
Mm.
there. And then you also got some of the rally games too now under Codemasters, right, which are phenomenal games. So yeah, I definitely have to say Forza Motorsport. It's number 7. I love it, but it's just like, to me, there's something about the Horizon, the open world, the fun that you have with friends, the don't take itself too seriously. It's the kind of racer that you can pick up and play for 5 minutes, or you can play for 10 hours, where it's like, when you get invested in those other ones, you really got to be all in, and playing the same kind of track over and over and over again and stuff like
Mhm.
that, to me, that's what does it. Track racers are just too confined. They just get boring much faster, but I'm saying they're not bad, because they're amazing. Forza Motorsport is amazing. The Gran Turismo games are pretty amazing, but they just don't hold a candle, in my opinion, to the Horizon series.
Yeah.
EA's gone. I'm the only one on the panel keeping all of Forza. So
Lady
because
just the entire genre.
because I don't look back. I look forward. The only thing missing by killing off EA is Need for Speeds with the cops. Okay, that's the only thing I would really truly miss that I could not find between Motorsport or Horizon is the cop chases. So that for me would be a big loss. But at the end of the day, I look to the future and I get I get what, about 80-90% of everything I look forward to in a racer out of Horizon and Motorsport combined. I love the sim aspects of Motorsport, and I love where they're going with it and the potential there. And Horizon, I get the arcade style, just absolute blast fun. So I'm the only one, guys. Chat, you hear that? I'm the only one that keeps Forza intact. Everybody else is a fraud.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like your panel and everyone in chat agrees or disagrees with you. Gran Turismo gotta go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gran Turismo 74%. Forza is 11%.
Horizon has the least amount.
And I
Look
just
at that.
pinned a very important message to the top of the chat. Gran Turismo won
I don't know.
landslide.
Must
all
not
right.
love it that much.
But I love him, but I'm gonna kill him off.
If I had to, out of 4, come on now. Well, yeah, shit.
You pretty much said like you are on a desert island and you had these options and you would never play Forza again.
Yeah,
that
We're an
sounds really
Xbox-
bad.
It does.
I'm going more with nostalgia than I am looking forward to it. I'm voting with the memories, right?
Yeah, but
Which
the
is
only way
probably
to
a
play those
mistake.
the only way to play those memories is to get a PS1.
No, it lives in my heart and my brain. All right.
Yeah.
So all right, guys, moving on. Finally. Hey, I wanted to talk about Dead Space real quick. We got an early look at the remake of it. It just we'll spend just a minute on this. Did any of you have a chance to see that and like what are your thoughts on
Oh my
that?
God.
I see. I guess we'll start with Noof. Have you had a chance to watch that yet, Noof?
Sorry, which was that again?
The Dead Space remake. They had a
I
early
caught a
look.
glimpse of it. Yeah, not the full bit, but just a couple of like clips. Because again,
Mhm.
I'm usually always at work when this shit comes out, so unless I can catch it when I come home, and it's always a mad rush when I do. But my God, graphically looks fantastic. Definitely you see it's definitely a remake. They're building it from the ground up here. Texture quality, stuff like notice the fog moving through like like on the ship, and the atmosphere and the lighting, of course, and the texture quality. If you loved it before, well, I guess you're gonna shit your pants for real on this time around. It looks to be pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, 100%. The stuff that they showed with that gym thing too, with the dismemberment, like it was really cool. Pong.
Yeah, always. I catch these. I caught it, and I love what I see so far. I talked about a little bit on Boom Show this morning. That was the biggest thing that we talked about, is whether or not they were going to be able to create a balance between what made the old one great, and then bring it forward to nowadays and update it, and then on top of it introduce maybe some new mechanics that would appeal to the gamer nowadays, because they're not only going after all of us that have been clamoring, all of us older gamers have been clamoring for this to happen, but they're also, just like Mass Effect, trying to bring new people in, because they could seriously have another hit on their hands, just like Mass Effect, where they actually restart the entire franchise over again, and have another, money winner here. So what I saw, it looks like they're spot on. Looks like that they have captured the feel of the old game, but definitely put their new modern day spin on it, and then cranked all the good stuff that made Dead Space great up to a 10. And I think that's what they needed to do. Bringing back the original voice actor. They talked about giving some more lines. Obviously, in the first one, in the original Dead Space, he never spoke. So having the original actor come back and give lines to him for this remake really makes a lot of sense, and is probably going to make the story that much greater. I think the sense and scope of Dead Space, when they did it on the 360, I talked about this on Boom. There's this big log of games that some of us older gamers got to enjoy that we still talk about to this day. They're not pillars like Halo, or a Zelda or a Mario. Or Far Cry. No, but there's a group of games that came out, especially during the 360 generation, that were absolutely fantastic, that did things differently, that pushed genres forward, that people to this day still are influenced by. And some of the younger generations hear about these games, but they're not going to go back and play the backwards compatibility, just like Mass Effect, because they're going to get turned off by the controls or by the sluggishness or by the graphics or whatever the case may be. But for them to be able to do this and bring this forward at this point, to be able to draw not only the original crowd, but new people, I think that is a magic that I think EA has finally figured out that's going to work. And shout out to Vince Zampella, because he is the one leading this charge. He woke EA up to their mistakes. Now, the sports franchises are a totally separate thing. I'm not even talking about them. We know what kind of state they're in. But he made EA believe in the single player experience again. And I think that a lot of these games from back in the day tried to do they had such big, grand ideas, but they were limited by the technology. So like we saw in Mass Effect, and I can't wait to see what they do with Mass Effect 4 now that they've seen the success that they had out of this Mass Effect trilogy. But I think with Dead Space, especially, the idea, the scope was so big. They did a good job with what they had. But now, as we've seen, like Noof was talking about, the lighting, everything else, the scenery, the settings that you're in can actually look like they originally wanted them to, or had the idea of this gigantic spaceship, because the spaceship is kind of almost a main character in this game itself as you're walking through it. And then to add voice acting to that, to bring the story more to life, dude, they've got a hit on their hands. Again, we won't know. We've seen games look great before, but they've got a hit on their hands. And the detail that they went into talking about the slicing, that was a big thing, being able to chop off specific limbs. But now they were showing how, some of the skin peels back and you can see the bone and muscle and sinew underneath. And, that level of detail, if they can put that throughout the game, give us those original jump scares. And then just, again, the atmosphere being current gen, what we can get out of it, man, they've got a hit on their hands. And I think EA is going to be happy with what they get out of this. And I think that's going to lead more and more good stuff for us down the road as they look at their back catalog, and then going forward as they look to expand upon a Dead Space franchise that a lot of people thought, pun intended, was dead. They're bringing it back to life, and that's cool. That's fantastic. So I'm excited.
Heck yeah. Psycho, you had a chance to watch it too, right?
Oh yeah, I watched it, and just the dismemberment and seeing the flesh being torn away from the bones, and that's all that's left. And then that's how you kill these creatures, is shooting limbs off. But now the level of detail, seeing the muscle and the flesh just rip off the bones, and then with certain weapons is more precision, and as other weapons just tear chunks of flesh off and meat to expose bone, and then bringing out your plasma cutter to sever the limbs. I mean, it's just the whole element is just amazing. Just seeing that. I mean, it was early, that little early development, what they did show. It was it was awesome. And then seeing the eeriness in the environment just felt just so immersive that like Pong was saying, that ship was a character in itself with the environment, and you don't know what was coming around the corner. So the remake of this is going to be, they definitely do have a hit on their hands, and I can't wait to see when they get more into the details of, like, because see, they were saying that when the skin, the flesh is not going to be, not all of it's going to be gone. You still have some flesh hanging from an arm or a leg. Like if you shoot their legs out, now they're just a stump. Even shooting in their heads, they're just fall instead of a face. So it's amazing what they're going to be giving us, and everyone, people that have not experienced this get to experience such. To me, it could be a masterpiece if they do this right.
Boy, he
Lots
sure has
of
a real
flesh.
fascination with tearing off the flesh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Flesh.
Look at that flesh.
Flesh. Look how the light and the flesh hit each other. The flesh
Rip the
light.
bacon from his bones.
It's the
Psycho, I
flesh
bet you love Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Yes, Pinhead all the way.
Exactly.
3-bit. Did you
Yeah.
see it?
I did, yeah.
Very game devy things in there. You probably were fascinated by that.
Love
right?
that stuff. Yeah, they had what you call a collider, and they put it over the
Yeah, I saw
enemies
that.
so you can see the
Layers.
detail, like how
Mhm.
it goes from like the meat to the
flesh.
skull and all that. I thought that was really cool, and Dead Space is just it's one of those games that freaked me out when I'm playing it. And I remember like specific areas where it's just brilliant for its time, in terms of like the enemies where you think they're dead, and you just walk by the area and then all of a sudden you hear something behind you, he wasn't dead, and they would do little like psychological tricks throughout the game. Sorry, K-Man. They would do like little psychological tricks throughout the whole Dead Space game, and it's one of my favorite like horror games, and I'm glad they are remaking it. Like they showed different. I think the community more so did this, where they showed the previous Dead Space like hallways and what it looks like now, and they're adding. It just looks amped up, right? It's just better atmospheric fog, better lighting, better textures. The Isaac, his armor looks a lot like more like bronze, which is what the intention was. You can see it behind Psycho. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this game. I think for a lot of people, I think a lot of people missed out on the first Dead Space, and this is a good way for them to like jump back into the franchise. And I think EA, I do think this is like an experiment for EA also, because they have done this with Mass Effect, and that has done extremely well. So I think people should buy this because it will make them reassess some of their older franchises to see if they should also do it with those. So I mean, I love Dead Space. I think people should try. I even like Dead Space 2. I think that introduced some mechanics that should kind of be in the first one as well, but I don't want them to change too much because I thought the first one was brilliant. Yeah, I mean, even when you go in like outer space, the sound effects, I think were amazing for its time, and I know EA, at least with DICE, has gotten like really good at figure out like sound effects. So I hope they implement what they have learned in that scenario with Dead Space, because even to this day, if you guys go back and play Dead Space, some of the sound effects when you're in outer space, or how they do music and how they play with like silence, just no music at all, you just hear your breath just like when he's inside the helmet. It's just amazing. So looking forward to this. I think it was awesome that they even did a dev type interview just to show the progress
early look.
I appreciate those things. I always love
too.
when devs do that, because we don't always get an inside scoop into what they're thinking and why they're making certain choices. We usually just get the end product and maybe some occasional like concept art or something like that. So it's always awesome when we get to see like, okay, we're doing it like this, and this is why we want to pay homage to the original game, but also amp up, because it's been a long time since the first game came out. So let's do it.
Yeah, and they even said that they are going to overhaul the 0G mechanics as well. So you're gonna feel that anti-gravity of space and everything. So it's just gonna give that extra level of realism with the environment. This is gonna scare the shit out of a lot of people. I can't wait to play it.
Meat.
Meat
It's
flesh.
it looks good. I mean, it's no Far Cry, you know. But no, I'm just kidding. That was a good Tuesday because we actually had the hour-long gameplay of Far Cry, and then immediately after that was like the Dead Space thing. So it was like really refreshing to see like these two games get like such like big looks at, like especially with Dead Space too. Is like early on in development, and then like Far Cry is like pretty much done, you know. So it's like pretty cool to see those two back to back. And you can see like they're really putting a lot of work into Dead Space with the visuals and stuff, right? So it's just like different though than Mass Effect. And I saw like Jasper in the chat said like Burnout, because like those are just like remasters, right? Where this is like a full on remake, more of like what Resident Evil did with like Capcom did with the Resident Evil games, right? So I'm liking this. I think more companies need to invest in bringing back old IPs, even if it's just one studio, right? That they get to do it. Like, there was that.
I think a Splinter Cell remaster.
Yeah, that was.
I would take that.
Good.
Let's go.
If they don't want to do a full new game,
yeah, that would hold up if you actually like, especially like Conviction. Like if you did Conviction, that'd be great.
I hope like Ubisoft sees this and sees how popular and how well it's doing, that they say, hold on, let's maybe bring out a Splinter Cell remake. I'm hoping for the first one or Chaos Theory personally, but
a whole reboot.
That's the light at the end of the tunnel. And I was going to say this when Mav was talking about Far Cry and Ubisoft and all that kind of stuff. And we know where Ubisoft is going in a lot of their games, but there is light at the end of the tunnel if these remasters and these remakes keep being successful, right? Ubisoft is going to have to look at that finally, because I said shout out to Vince Zampello for convincing EA, but I'm sure another big decision was Capcom, right? I'm sure EA was looking at what Capcom did. Capcom turned around their entire company. Capcom was ready to go under or sell, and all of a sudden they decided they had the brilliant idea. And I say that, lightly because we've all been clamoring for it, but they had the brilliant idea to go back and take their best franchise and start remaking them. And look what happened. Resident Evil 2 basically made the company, brought it back to life again.
Yeah.
And I think that's what EA is looking at as well and saying, hey, we got this great catalog. Let's start doing stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
you don't have to like put all your studios on things. If each publisher had like one studio that's just dedicated to like doing remakes, remaster,
we've heard Bethesda's doing that, right?
We heard rumors of that, so we'll see if that turns out to be true. It would be really nice, to see some, because all these companies have all these IP. It's like a IP graveyard, right? Of like, and we have this nostalgia, right? Like, let's bring some of them back.
Sorry, I saw Red K Med's chat.
K-Med says, I'll donate one of my testicles to science if a Splinter Cell comes out in the next 2 years.
All right. Well, if it does happen, K-Med, pictures or it didn't happen. So that's all I'm going to say. You're going to have to post on Twitter.
All right.
35 G's.
Remember earlier we talked about No Man's Sky a little bit, and you were mentioning that, and I was thinking about what they were talking about with Halo, and how they said when Joe Staten said, oh, this is a live service game, right? And it's a living game. I think of it more like as living games, and I want to say why. I think of living games like No Man's Sky, like State of Decay, even. These are games that get like these big updates. Sea of Thieves, they get these big updates, and the content keeps coming for years and years and years, and it evolves what the game is and transforms from launch until years later what it becomes. Like sometimes they're unrecognizable. With No Man's Sky is a perfect example of this. So what is live service mean for Halo? Now, we already know what it means for the multiplayer, but when Joe Staten was talking about it, he is referencing the single player. And we've heard about this 10-year plan. What does that mean for Halo, and what is the advantage and disadvantage? That's like what I want to talk about, it because we're not getting some of the stuff at launch. What is Halo going to turn into over the next 10 years? That is a living game or live service. Noof, I thought you'd be interested in this
Oh,
discussion.
definitely. Well, what I personally think, and I hope to God that I'm wrong, but what I personally think this live service means for Halo, at least in the campaign aspect, is that we officially don't see an actual sequel. Like Halo with the numbering system has been in traditional, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Halo Infinite can mean a lot of things. It means that there's infinite possibilities or infinite expansions and things to evolve and certainly be added to the campaign over the course of, like Microsoft sort of before, like with the system that they're going with now and the way that they're doing consoles, generations are not quite the same as they were. They're no longer fully reliant on having the best console per se, even though they do have one of the most powerful consoles on the market. But I think that with the development costs being as high as they are, and of course seeing the sort of development hell that this Halo game's pretty much gone through over the past few years, that ultimately this might be the way to keep the Halo franchise fresh, keep delivering content which people will gobble up in, of course, doses and be eager and ready to chomp at the bit. Because it's going through Game Pass, I highly doubt they're going to charge anything astronomical. It'll be just lots of content to keep people invested in the game, to keep people invested in Game Pass, to be people going back to the Halo lore and the franchise. And like I said, maybe it's almost like games within a game. So, this quest that we're going to go on with Halo Infinite's campaign, ends, and then perhaps there's another story that comes after that, or some sort of a DLC style of expansion. And I think we could see that again go on well into the next 5 to 10 years. Perhaps they will make another Halo game, but I think the downside is more upsides than downsides with this whole thing. But I think that the downside for me is, like, as the technology progresses, as the consoles progress, different things, I want to see them push the envelope. The worst thing about service-based games, and I've seen this all along, is that I feel that it's a cop-out. It's a way for developers at some point in time not to push the envelope. They're going to get complacent with their game engine and their graphics engines and different things, and we won't really see franchises evolve the way I want to. Like Sea of Thieves, for example, will that game ever get like a Sea of Thieves 2, right? Or is that game just going to be destined to be the same game with just updated content? Eventually, you'd like to see a real sequel. I mean, wouldn't World of Warcraft fans, for example, wouldn't they like to see like an actually like brand new built World of Warcraft game that isn't based on the same dated engine from freaking 15 years ago, like completely overhauled new graphics? And this is what I'm saying with Halo. Like, I just don't want Halo to just become this good game and it's just constant just upgrades. I want them to push the envelope. And sometimes that means a sequel, and sometimes that means a overhauling of an engine or various versions of it. Like the Unreal Engine constantly gets lots of upgrades and stuff like that, and you see some of those performance upgrades within that. So it could mean a lot of things. It could mean that we're stuck with Halo Infinite in whatever shape or form it is for now, and see it progress much like we saw with the Halo Master Chief Collection, where it's become sort of a it's become its own entity over time. And the game's been out a couple of years now, and by all rights and means, and they could have stopped working on that and just killed it at one point in time and said, that's it, that's enough, we're done with it. But yet here they are several years later, adding game modes, content, different things to keep people coming back to that universe, to coming back to that game. It's kind of funny that they've invested it all in Halo Master Chief and not really so much to Halo 5, right? It's almost like they washed their hands with Halo 5. Master Chief, because of its heritage and its history, they keep going back to that. Now they're going to bring that over to the new Halo, and I think that's what we're going to get. Like I said, for better or for worse, it has a lot more upswings and perhaps downswings, but I think that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a living service Halo game that's going to continue on for many years, and perhaps we'll never see an official Halo sequel. I mean, is this an official sequel of Halo 5? I don't really know. I don't know where this fits in the grand scheme of things, but that's what I'm kind of worried about. As again, it's kind of like, instead of just, investing millions again to go back into and making a brand new game sort of from the ground up or from scratch, like we just continue on. It's like sports games, right?
Yeah.
You don't rebuild it. You just keep adding to it. And people keep buying it up. Nobody really cares. At the end of the day, there's far more people that buy it than the people that bitch about it. Like some of us, I bitch about it all the time. But guess what? Madden's still going to be the number one seller in a couple weeks, and NBA will be the number one seller, and so on and so forth. And the cycle continues. And we're starting to see that trend now end up in other games, in our story-based games that we love. And that's all I'm worried about, is that the game really doesn't move forward the way I'd want it to move forward. It's going to please a lot of people, but then some of us are going to be just like, you know what, I'm done with this Halo, man. This is just, they haven't really done anything fresh or new. They're just finding more ways to keep snot-nosed kids invested in buying some kind of packs or whatever the fuck it is, and call it a day. So that's my two cents.
Yeah. It's a lot of good thoughts there. I mean, I think that's what we're gonna get. I think that's why it's called Halo Infinite, not just because of the lore with the name, but I think what's why also Forza Motorsport is just called Forza Motorsport. Potentially, that's why Fable is just called Fable. Who knows? We don't know what Fable is yet. Like they could have plans to keep these games alive because they have a home in Game Pass, right? And look at these games individually as platforms, almost like they do Sea of Thieves, right? Which may be the whole model that Xbox is going with their first party IPs. We also know that Rare's working on that Everwild game, which could also be a somewhat similar style thing. Who knows what all they're doing, but it's interesting that if you look at that, like Forza Motorsport, Fable, Halo Infinite, they couldn't call it Halo, right? So Halo Infinite would make sense to give that connotation of like an ever living thing, right? I don't know, man. I don't know what to think of it. I don't know if it's good or bad. Like, would I rather have Halo 6 and 7 and 8 this generation, or would I rather have the one experience that's gonna branch off into I don't know what? Like, I don't know. Like, it's interesting. I don't know what we're gonna get. Yeah. Three, but you're a huge Halo fan. Like, what do you think we're getting with live service Halo campaign?
I think, well, a lot of people, when they think about the live service, they think about the multiplayer, right? But with the campaign, I hope that it still feels complete when I first get to play it. However, I do know they're making other Halos right now besides Infinite, right? So maybe they use this story to tell.
Is that inside information?
I don't know if it is or not. But
did you just
they're
screw
making
up
other Halos? No, okay. I don't think I did. I think people know that they're making another Halo.
Well, they know now.
Well, they know now. If they don't know, then, well, dang. So they're making another Halo outside of Halo Infinite, right? So that will be probably like the ODST type game. So for those people who really like the Halo franchise and they want something different than that side Halo project, whatever it is, we'll tickle that, right? But then you also have Halo Infinite, where I believe they're just gonna keep building upon this open world type experience, and maybe towards the end of the game, maybe you don't fully beat Atriox or something, maybe he goes to this other planet, and maybe that's chapter 2, and it keeps going and going. Now when they say live service, I'm thinking more so in the multiplayer side of things.
See, that's what I was thinking, bro, but hear me out. He used that to excuse co-op missing from the campaign.
Well,
he did.
Yeah.
He said.
I mean,
he said. But like Halo is a live service game, so it's never content complete, and co-op will be coming, right? So
Is
he's
that what he sounds like?
referencing the campaign, like, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
if he can't use it as an excuse for the campaign not having co-op without the connotation that there's more to come as well
Right.
in the campaign. Otherwise,
Yeah.
that's a cop
I
out,
guess
right?
I feel like there's a lot to Halo Infinite. What we still don't know about. We've been seeing like the same sort of section in the campaign of the grassy fields and this, but we know there's probably a lot more. And that's where we'll probably find out more if it's going to be a live service in the campaign as well. And I guess it is, like you were saying, Mav, like he said, like, oh, that could be a potential thing, but I'm thinking more so on the multiplayer side of things. We already know there's seasons,
right? Dude, that's
and
the
all
easy
that
thing, right?
But yeah, it's just hard for me to imagine it in Halo. But if I guess they were to do a live service type of thing, it would probably be like Chapter 1. Master Chief is trying to, he lands on a planet with that pilot, and you are figuring out where Cortana could be, and maybe you battle Atriox, and maybe or maybe battle Atriox's minion in the first one, and maybe in Chapter 2 you finally battle Atriox, and then you go on another whole other planet. I'm not a fan of that. I mean, I think it's kind of cool in a way, but I love that experience where it's just a complete story from beginning to end.
Well, they better have that. Like, if they like cut it off like short segments of story and then bring that out over time.
That's what Battlefield did, right?
Yeah, but nobody expects campaign greatness from Battlefield. You know what I mean? Like,
apparently not.
people expect like a complete Halo campaign.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why I'm hoping they don't go that route.
Yeah, that would be bad if they did that.
I mean, if it's a complete experience, then awesome. You get a full.
What are you expecting from hour-wise, like, of an experience in the Halo campaign?
Oh wow!
Because this is open world,
So it better be at least freaking 10.
Oh, I think it's going to be
7-8 hours.
I think it's going to be about 15-20 hours.
Really?
That'd be the longest Halo game ever.
Because it looks like it's going to be like, you can do the main mission or do some little side missions here and there. Because it's not like it's not a linear story. It's a semi-open world type story. I think what this game service could be for Halo is that you battle through the story, and then you beat Atriox, but there's another faction of his splinter group, another part of the ring, and that opens up in like season 2, and then you got to go fight them and learn that they had the key for the Halo ring, or there's the Covenant is here and they're trying to get the key as well, and then expanding on the story that way and giving you like this story arc within the Halo game itself. Like the first chapter is Atriox, that's this story, and then there's another story that's going to involve this Halo Infinite storyline, and this just
I just hope it feels complete is my whole thing. Like,
I think it will. I think they will. They know if they give us a cut off and we don't get a true finish or end to this, I think they know the backlash. So I'm hoping that they give us, this, like I said, this is the story of Atriox, and we finished it. But in season 2, they're gonna be like, oh well, his splinter group took the key, and this is where they're going because you didn't find it, or they took the Cortana 2.0 to open, and the whole Cortana line storyboard is also in the mix. So there's a lot of things that could be ongoing, and it's just like I said, there's this arc story that is going to give us maybe an immersive story in this game.
The first time 343 is doing brutes,
and
this is the first time they're possibly doing the flood. I mean, I'm gonna bring up Jasper's thing really quick. He says a Halo Infinite campaign expansion the returning flood and the flood is released on the ring or something like that. I
Yeah.
think they might be in the actual campaign, just based on lore and where they are. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll definitely see.
Yeah,
Well,
I feel. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think as well too that, you know, and maybe it's just a way of thinking because we've been trained to think about games in a certain way for so long, you know, the way they come out and traditionally how they're sold to us as fans. But I also think just much like the evolution of how we consume our games, it's also the way games are presented now. I think that is something that we have to consider, that games will come out as, you know, not necessarily just like the GTA series, for example, right? Each one of those games is self-contained in itself. Its own city, its own characters, and kind of when you're done with it, that's it. Whereas I think like Halo and various other games now, it's going to be like the Lord of the Rings movie series, you know, where you know there's going to be at least 3 movies coming out right from the get-go. They're making 1, 2, and 3. So they got the story. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that in games where the games aren't necessarily finished per se when they come out. I don't mean from a production standpoint, but like they're going to give you only so much of the story and the rest of it will be a continuation. And it may not come out as in a form of, say, an official sequel, but it will be again generated through content. So I think that's something we may have to get used to, and it's also something that will be, I think, pushed forward more so with Xbox, because again, they want to get people to subscribe to Game Pass, and more importantly, it's no good to get people to subscribe to Game Pass if everybody just dumps it after a couple months. They want to keep people invested. How do you do that? You bring great games and big games, but also have content that's going to keep them engaged, where they're like, man, I got to see what happens next. So I've got to stay invested in this Game Pass ecosystem because there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe when it comes to Halo, Gears, or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. What do you want to see from a Halo campaign live service, Pong? Like, what is your like envision for what's best for Halo, knowing that basically what they've said so far, you know, and because we don't know anything, but except for the fact that it's live service and this 10-year plan. That's it.
Well, I guess for me, when I look at games of a service, it got a bad rap early on when the first one started hitting, and a lot of people use that as a kind of a black eye when a game gets labeled that. We saw Outriders try to distance themselves as far away from games of service, even though we could see it was set up to be a games of a service type game once we got our hands on it. So I think that it's going to take a while for that stigma to go away, but I don't necessarily find it to be bad. You know, I've seen a great conversation in the chat between Rick Payne and Noof, and it's always interests me. Rick's got a unique look on the gaming industry because he, you know, just kind of came back into it recently. And he's not used to a lot of things that have been happening that we've been seeing happen over the past, you know, 5-10 years. It can kind of be jarring for people. But at the end of the day, I don't think that games as a service is a bad thing. I could think when you do it right. Let's take Destiny 2, for example. Destiny 1 didn't do it right. They went back to the drawing board. Destiny 1, if you remember, was supposed to be a 10-year plan. That never happened. They moved on to Destiny 2 to try to fix what they screwed up. Guess what? Destiny 2, for all of its issues and for all the complaining that you always get, which is funny that, you know, obviously that's Bungie again. You know, with Halo being as big as it is, you're always going to have people who are unhappy no matter which direction they go. But Destiny 2 has done a considerable amount right. And that's why it's still so popular today, as it was even more so than when it first dropped. And they've created, you know, quite a fanatical community. People are addicted to that game. And there's no doubt that that's what, you know, Xbox is going to look to do here, because I think Noof is correct. Rick is correct to a certain degree. They are going to need certain games within Game Pass to keep those people interested at all times, to keep that monthly subscription going no matter what. At the end of the day, it's not only going to be just, you know, big single player titles like, you know, a Starfield per se. It's going to take those MMOs, it's going to take those games of service because people invest. People talk about it, people complain about it, but at the end of the day, there's a gigantic, you know, group of people. We see it with Fortnite and elsewhere, Destiny 2, that do invest in those heavily, and that's what they play. I'd love to see sports games like Madden go to this. Wouldn't it be much better to have Madden and NBA 2K as a games of a service where we just have it and they constantly update it at all times, or have seasons where they add? I'd love that. That'd be much better than having to fork out, now almost $100. Yeah, almost $100.
Yeah, 70 now, right?
Yeah, so each and every single year, I'd much rather have it as a games of service. But so for me, for Halo Infinite specifically, what I see is I think this is a great opportunity for Halo. I think that what they're going to do is they're going to have a complete story out the gates, right? They're going to have a beginning, middle, and end story, and they're going to make every Halo fan, or we hope they're going to make every Halo fan as satisfied as possible. I don't think they're going to screw that up in any way, shape, or form.
No, exactly.
I think it's going to be complete. I think it's going to be done. I think you're going to be satisfied with it. You're going to come out of it and say, okay, cool. However it ends, whatever the case may be, if I know nobody wants to talk about it, but if this is the end of Chief, then it's the end of Chief, right? That's it, right? And I think that's how they're going to initially drop this. And then I think going forward, I think this creates a awesome, again, I'm a casual Halo fan, but I look at it, I try to put myself in the shoes as if this was one of my favorite franchises of all time doing this. I would constantly want content, right? As a Star Wars fanatical fan, forever, when I had to wait, a decade for the next, movie to come out, it was awful, right? I wanted things in between there. I wanted more content because I saw this universe, and Halo is very similar in terms of lore. I'm not invested in it, but I just know from talking to you guys that Halo, and just looking at it, obviously,
is
right.
Star Wars for sure. Yeah.
Right. It's got this huge lore-based universe to go explore. So I think what we start seeing with Halo Infinite is just shorter, smaller experiences, but much more frequent experiences coming out that constantly are promised or teased ahead of time, saying, hey, can't wait, we're going to show you this new, we're going to open up the Halo universe, and we're going to tell you this story over here, and then we've got this whole other thing we want to explore over here. And I think that's really what we're going to start seeing. I don't think it has to stay necessarily on this ring, even though this ring obviously is large enough where they can expand out off of that and keep you on that ring. I think they can go elsewhere in the universe. And I think they could bring us these short stories and these experiences that actually round out the universe itself and really give it all of its glory that it deserves, being that they have all this background and all this lore. And I think that's going to be the cool part for all the Halo fans out there, that I don't think you're going to have to wait like we've had to, just look at this game, 6 years. I don't think we're going to be doing that anymore. I think this is definitely going to be a regular drop. They're going to be introducing new characters, new places, new, whatever the case may be, that keeps people going, oh man, I can't wait to see where they're going to take us next. I can't wait to see where they're going to take us next.
Yeah.
And then you still got the multiplayer that is going to be dominating. Again, if the tech was anything like the final product, look, I've said it again, even as a casual Halo fan, Halo is going to remind everybody why it's king, and it's going to be back on top as number one. I can see streamers going nuts with this stuff. I can see it just exploding all over the place, that Halo becomes once more the multiplayer of choice, the first person shooter of choice for a lot, millions upon millions of people. And I think that, they can just add to that. They can do their seasons just like Call of Duty. They can do all of that. They've got all the formulas in front of them. But I don't think that, I see Rick's fear, and Noof, I can hear it, a little bit from you too, that's all we're going to see in the future because Game Pass needs it. I don't think so. I think that you're going to have these franchises that they turn into games of service and hopefully are successful. But I think those games of service are actually going to drive even more single player content or more linear experiences for teams like Double Fine, for teams like Bethesda that do create these big giant open world single player experiences. I think that's going to actually create more opportunity where they can say, hey, we've got all this money flowing in from all these games of service, these pillars. But guess what? That just means we can go ahead and invest elsewhere as well. And we're going to bring that content because they know it is important to people. They know that there is a lot more diversity that, again, we've seen it in Game Pass already, but the diversity in Game Pass needs to stay that way and actually probably grow out even more to make sure, as they're trying to reach 2-3 billion people, that they have something for everyone. And not everybody's bag of tea is, obviously in that space, in that games as a service space. So they're still going to need all those other markets as well. And I think that's going to generate the revenue, keep everybody happy from the investors on down. And I think that's where we see it really explode from there. So I'm happy to see it. I think Halo is the perfect, again, you got to do it right. You do it wrong, like Outriders, and you can really screw things up. But if you do it right, Sea of Thieves started out wrong, but they fixed it. Now look at it. Again, we were just talking about No Man's Sky came out, flopped, but guess what? They stuck at it, and you got to give Hello Games, Sean Murphy and his team over there a lot of credit because they stuck with it. And guess what? There's a pretty hardcore fan base of No Man's Sky right now, and they just added a huge addition to it, which got me to jump back into it. That I hadn't tried since PS4, from when I first got on the PS4. So I think when you do it right, it is very successful. It can be a huge boon for you. And I think that it can appeal to a lot of people, but again, just don't screw it up, because if you screw it up, it's a big hit. It's a big loss.
No Man's Sky screwed it up at launch.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I'm saying. But you have the chance, if you stick with it, to fix it. But again, others like Outriders, they just kept making mistake after mistake after mistake. Instead of fixing what they needed to fix, they fixed other things that people didn't care about. And that's the problem. And then you see a game die off real quick.
But Outriders is still fresh too, though. Like 3 or 4 years from now, like you could be having the same conversation potentially. But that would take Square Enix's investment, and I don't know what we're gonna get there. The thing is with Halo too, that I can't stop thinking about this, right? Because I started thinking about this at the same time when Joe Staten was talking about the live service thing and then the co-op and all that stuff. The multiplayer is separate this time around. You don't even have to buy the game to play multiplayer, right?
Right.
So for $60 as its own package, you were getting the campaign. And whatever is in that campaign package for $60, it has to have value, right? For a $60 value. And because without that, you don't even need, you can just play the multiplayer and you're happy. So like $60 has to hold its value for what it is, right? Multiplayer has its own monetization model with the season passes and all that kind of stuff, right? So going into freaking the campaign, if we're talking about Halo as a traditional length of a campaign, like Jasper was saying in the chat, a lot of them are 6-7 hours, right? If you paid $60 for a game, a big AAA game, and you just got a 7-hour campaign, and was over and done with, that's what you got. Is that enough value there to keep people happy for the money that they spent? Or are they buying in the promise of the future? So basically what I'm getting at is I feel like this game needs to be longer than that. I feel like it needs to be by far the longest Halo game. I think it needs to deliver like a 15-20 hour campaign experience like some of these other open world games do. Otherwise, people might be a little disappointed if they have the same length based on the value of what they spent their money on. Right. So, and we can't just think about excuse the fact that it lives in Game Pass, because there's a lot of people they're selling this to people also that don't have Game Pass, right? A lot of people will be spending $60 on the game, and including a lot of people that even have Game Pass are going to spend $60 on it just because they want to buy it, right? So as far as value goes, I'm just curious. I want more information from them. I know we're probably going to get it at launch or closer to launch, but they've been really tight-lipped on what's included in that $60 package, because multiplayer is not part of that, right? So what are you giving us what is the length of the campaign? What are the plans for the additional content coming in the near future? If it's live service, what does that look like? All of these things, I want to know. Like, if I spend $60 on a game, am I going to be done with it in 5 or 6 hours and not have anything else to do for months? Because if you think of Destiny and you compare it to Destiny, right? Destiny has that RPG grinding thing, right? You're getting experience points. You're leveling up. There's other things to do where you can go and have that experience, and you fill time in and repeat the same areas over and over again because you're grinding for XP. You're trying to level up. You're doing equipping abilities, trying different things out. This is more of a traditional shooter still. They're not, unless that maybe they're putting some of that stuff in it that they haven't told us. I doubt they are, but I would just like to know more information. Like, give us more. It's getting time, right, for that. So I would really like to know the answer to those questions. Like, if I think some people might be disappointed in that if that's all they're getting. Now, maybe hopefully like there's more to it than that, right? Would any of you be disappointed if you spent $60 and you got the 6-hour campaign and that's it for any game?
Yeah.
Depends on the
Depends.
game.
Depends on
It
the
really
experience.
depends
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean,
game.
again,
Yeah.
I can have a great 6 to 8 hour experience and be happy with my $60. I can have a terrible 40-hour experience and think that I wasted my $60, right? So I've been in both spots. So
Yeah.
again, value is going to come down to the eye of the
That's-
beholder. I mean, that's where it's going to be at. So I just don't think that's where we're getting. Again, from the little that we do know, with them going to more of a hub world style, we got to see the map. And from what it looked like, I don't think that's where we're going to get. I think we are going to get a lot of side content and stuff that you
I hope
can
so.
go
Yeah.
do. The main mission may wind up being under 15 hours. The main mission may wind up being 10 hours if you just plow through it. But I think they're going to offer all that side stuff like a lot of games do. And, I always hate to call it filler because there's some games where it is absolutely 100% filler. And there's other games that have pulled it off incredibly. Again, CD Projekt Red, for all of its faults, if you look at their side missions in Witcher and in Cyberpunk, those side missions were sometimes better than the main missions.
Yeah.
So I don't count that as filler. So again, it just depends where they fall with this and how it actually all comes together.
That's true.
For me,
Resident Evil 8. I mean, you look at that game, that wasn't overly long, but that game was phenomenal.
yeah, that's true. That's a good point. They tried to add stuff with like the like new game plus type situations with that and everything, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, it probably took me about 8 to 10 hours to complete, and that was a $60 game. So that's actually a great comparison, Noof, because that's something
And
that
there's no there's no multiplayer yet. They're supposed to be making that reverse or
Nobody
whatever.
cares
whatever
about
the
that
fuck.
freaking multiplayer.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I didn't see anybody really complaining about that. So when people do complain about it, because I know they will, I'm not talking about Xbox fans.
Well, because
But
all they
I'll
can
say, hey,
hear
what
is
about Resident Evil 8? You know what I mean? So that's a good one.
because all they come back to is, oh, it's been in development for 5 or 7 years and it's $500 million, and that's all they can see is some of these exaggerated numbers. But I think if you could go behind the scenes, I mean, first of all, they developed the Slip Space engine. I heard they had to go back and rework it again. So for the better part of your first year or two, these guys are just basically working on engine,
building the platform,
graphic design, features, and platform. Exactly. Like you got to take all that out of the equation. It's not like it's not like a generic sequel and they just started. Oh my God, so the first half of the year we're scratching our balls and we'll just add a little bit here and there. Like that's it takes time to build games, and unfortunately the last year pretty much almost for the last 2 years marred with COVID distraction and delays, and then of course going back to rework some of the graphics due to that probably hindsight is 2020. Probably it was one of those delays that was actually for the better because of the outrage and the outcry, because they maybe realized we have some work to do. This game is not quite as polished as we'd like it to be, and now because of that extra time and stuff, looks like, you know, it's going to pay off hopefully. So I just want a good campaign. I don't really care about the length. I don't sit there and count the hours. I've played plenty of games that were 20 plus hours, and I'm down in the last 5 or 6 going, will this freaking thing ever end?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the
That's
short
true.
games, you're like, oh my God, I wish that was longer. I mean, like It Takes Two. That wasn't excessively long either, but what a hell of a ride that was.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just so different in the Halo world without the multiplayer included in the package. It's just like, you know, interesting, like for me to think about. What were you saying, Pong?
No, I was just gonna say I think that, you know, chances are if they created this open world, and it's a lot like Gears of 5 was open world, right?
Yeah.
And it just kind of depends on how you approach it. You can complete Gears of War's, you know, you can complete Gears of War 5 in a much shorter time, but a lot of people were getting 20 hours out of it, right? Just because of the more open world aspect. And I think that's probably what they looked at, because it's in-house and it's something that they kind of saw, and they probably saw the engagement numbers out of Gears 5, and when they were building this world, I think that's probably more what they were shooting for. I don't think this is going to be an Assassin's Creed open world by any stretch of the imagination, you know, that you can put hundreds of hours into, but I think they're just going to give you enough, you know, variance while you're traveling, that hey, if you want to go off the beaten path, if you want to do these little side things, cool. I think it's going to probably maybe double the length of the main campaign. I don't see the story itself, you know, them writing out and having, you know, 20-hour, you know, 15-hour main campaign storyline. I don't see that unless we don't, you know, unless they expanded greatly on where they're going with this thing. I just think it's going to be a standard Halo campaign format, but then they're just going to add this kind of open world space where you can kind of go explore, much like they did in Gears of War 5.
So we got to find out the info on what all that is at some point, right? Like they have been so tight-lipped. And the last thing I want to just kind of wrap up with is there's got to be one more show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Before launch, there's got to be
anniversary,
something they're holding
anniversary
this for,
date.
Right?
Anniversary date.
You think the big show is going to be on the anniversary date? Right?
Exploded out. Yep, exploded out. That's what I would do. Again, been wrong many times on this stuff, but if I was them, since I missed the launch date on the anniversary, I would do a huge blowout. It's perfect. It's about a month prior, a little under a month prior. They should have everything wrapped up by that point.
That's when you get the Xbox, right?
Yeah, and everybody's getting their Xboxes. Halo hype's going to be at its peak. Everybody's going to be talking about the anniversary. You come out, you do a gigantic Halo show, and just give everybody what they've been looking for. Show off the campaign. You know, do all that cool stuff.
Live
and
game,
just go
more
from there.
new updated gameplay of the campaign.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
You think that we'll get that on the 15th of November, Psycho?
Oh yeah, I think so too. I know that something's coming down the pipeline because it's the 20th anniversary. They're not going to just sit by and just, you know, do a little fluff piece. They're going to come out swinging because this is, you know, this is.
It better not be
years
just
of
an Xbox wire.
Yeah, or one of the fan fest things they do, which is cool and all, but like they don't ever actually show anything or reveal have anything like noteworthy, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to do two shows. They're going to do they're going to have the Xbox 20th and they're going to have the Halo 20th. Could it be one show? I think they're going to show us what's coming down the pipeline, and at least in 2022, and show us games possibly like Perfect Dark, you know, maybe some other stuff that they've been working on. The rumored studio of Bethesda doing remakes. You know, we still haven't heard anything from the not Coalition, the
Compulsion.
We still haven't heard nothing. There's like what 3-4 other studios that haven't really said what they're doing, and they haven't showed, but they're all working on something. I mean, there's 40 something games coming down the pipeline
in Exile.
That's coming. In Exile's working on 3 games and a new engine. So I mean, it just blows your mind of what's coming out. And they're going to have to deliver something for a 20th anniversary that is going to keep people talking throughout, you know, all throughout
it makes Yeah.
the
Yeah.
you know, beginning of at least the first quarter of 2022.
It makes me wonder because I was thinking about this more from the perspective of Halo's 20th anniversary, but it also is Xbox's 20th anniversary, and they would be remiss
Yes.
if they didn't actually celebrate that with a couple of announcements as well, right? Like
Exactly.
it's
I think an XO would be great too. I think if they do
Mhm.
another XO between the XO and a VGA announcements, I think they can cover future and then close to future, and then also have its Halo event, which blows out Halo.
You think
I
we
think
could
that's how
see-
you
Yeah.
end the year.
you think we could see like an update on Perfect Dark or Avowed
Yes.
or anything,
Oh, yeah.
something like this, right? Like Fable.
Avowed, yeah, I definitely see Avowed and Fable, something along the lines. They've been coming along nicely.
November 15th. Get here.
I would,
I'm looking
if I
forward
was
to it.
them, I would wait to show a lot of those games.
Would you?
And yeah, I
Oh,
would.
E3 next year is going to be gigantic.
E3, I would wait till E3 next year.
E3 next year is going to be ridiculous anyway.
Yeah,
I'm hoping.
And
they
I'm not.
start
I'm
seeing
not
one
talking
of them.
about. Yeah. I'm not talking about big blowouts when I talk about like an XO. I'm just talking about giving us an update and giving us some quick teasers, maybe with a little bit of gameplay, but then save the majority of the big stuff until E3 next year and rock it. I mean, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
'Cause I think some of those games are like 2
years, 2.5.
3
Yeah.
years. I would just wait till
Yeah.
They showed so much this year too. In terms of like Halo Infinite being shown, I think I'm sort of with you guys on it having an event sometime on its anniversary, but I'm also in the boat where I think they might even show it earlier in October, but we'll see.
Yeah. They never like do what the obvious thing is. You know,
Yeah,
like it's like the
no.
stuff makes too
No.
much sense, and it's like, hey, let's do this.
Nah.
Like this is gonna happen. You know, and it's like, hey, all this is lining up perfectly, and then
No.
they like do something else random, like the fact that Halo Infinite isn't coming out on November 15th,
Right.
is like a shock to me. And the only reason that could be possible is that they just needed those extra few weeks.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, and he did say it came down to those extra few weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
So they
Yeah, if you look at the calendar, that's almost 3 weeks exactly, which was what Phil was talking about.
Right.
So they obviously had it from the anniversary date forward, where some of us were thinking maybe sooner, but he was obviously thinking anniversary date into that
Yeah,
first week. Of
and I
December.
think they wanted to make sure that that Call of Duty wasn't
Yeah.
later in November or something
Yeah.
that was going to be in the way, right?
Yeah.
Noof, we'll wrap up first with saying thank you so much for joining us. You're awesome, super awesome. Thank you for being here. Do you think there's an event on the 15th? And also make sure you do your outro as well, please.
Yeah, I definitely think there's highly likely there's going to be another Xbox show of some magnitude. Obviously, something perhaps to show a little bit more of Halo, build a little hype going into the launch, all that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't put it past them, and and maybe they will, because we know that Sony's got a show coming up here now right away, which is great on them because they've been long overdue, and I'm hoping that they have some good stuff to show because, as I said, it's been long overdue for them.
they will.
So perhaps Microsoft don't want to let them steal all the thunder heading into sort of the fall season, into the critical launch part of the year when the games, this is when they have the potential to sell the most Game Pass and a lot of games through digital stores and stuff like that. So I definitely think they could have something up their sleeve to show off their goods and wares. They definitely got a lot more stuff than we know about, and perhaps we see at least a little bit of a surprise to get us kind of hyped going into 2022. So yeah.
And the Game Awards too, like they've
And
come
the Game
out
Awards.
strong at the Game Awards the past 2 years. Like we got Perfect Dark this past year, and the year before that they actually revealed the Series X. So that's coming. in
Kojima announcement
December.
locked.
I definitely think we'll see. Well, definitely,
Yeah,
what? We
but-
could catch our first glimpse of the new Forza Motorsport, what those guys are working on.
Ooh,
And I
that'd
would
be
not be surprised at all if we see more Fable or even Perfect Dark heading into the new year, just to kind of keep us up to date and in the loop as to where they're at. So I definitely think there's some cool stuff. And like you said, lots of studios too. I don't know if we'll see much from Ninja Theory, but definitely someone like Compulsion, perhaps something from In Exile. There's a few studios in there that definitely may have something on the table over
There's
the
a
next little while.
couple of those,
And of course, don't forget
studios
Bethesda.
too.
That's what I say. Don't forget
Roundhouse.
Bethesda. Like, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Interesting. Well, again, New, thanks for being here. Let everybody know where they can find Gaming After Dark and Good Morning Xbox and yourself on Twitter and all the goods.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Well, first off, guys, I won't be running community game night tomorrow night. I have got some things on the go, so I will not be able to make it. So I do apologize for that, but I do believe our good friend Cerebral Paul will run that in my absence. I'm not sure which games he has lined up, but he was indicating Forza Motorsport 7. So keep a check on him on Twitter. Outside of that, you guys know where to find me on Tuesday nights, your late night show, 10 Eastern on my YouTube channel called Gaming After Dark with Titan Drago and the middle-aged game guy. And then on Sunday mornings, I do Good Morning Xbox, and I will be back this Sunday. Yes, I missed last week, but we will be back full force this Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern. That is 7 a.m. Mountain Time. That is on my YouTube channel. And we'll be talking about, well, some of the most relevant Xbox stuff, I guess you could say, that we've heard about in the last week or so. So thank you again for having me. It's always an honor and a pleasure to hang out with you guys. You're an absolute blast. And again, you have my utmost respect and your support. And I wish you all the best, guys, to everybody here. A lot of you guys are doing multiple podcasts, and Mav, you're a busy guy. And again, I appreciate you having me here, man. It's been an absolute honor.
Yeah, super appreciate it. Definitely one of the podcasters out there that I've always listened to since I started doing this, and learned things from. Great host on your shows. You do things excellent, and your shows are different too. Like, I like that. Like, you have Good Morning Xbox is a completely different flavor than Gaming After Dark, right? So that's impressive that you can do that, being the same person having different flavor on two different shows. So I gotta figure out how to
be
pull
more
that off.
reserved. Just got to be
Yeah.
very reserved, as you know. So I'm not used to doing that, but it's good because we pull in a different audience. And again, it's, for those people who find Gaming After Dark too late to catch, at least this one's earlier. And of course, because we do try to keep it as best as we can, a G-rated PG kind of a show, it allows more people to check out what we're talking about without, some of the vulgarity and the language that often come with Gaming After Dark. It gets crazy over there. So,
Yeah.
hey, I guess people are kind of disappointed, Mav, that you didn't ask Arnold to come in tonight.
Yeah, well, if Arnold's here, like, around right now, I would like to know what his thoughts were on Far Cry 6. I don't know. Okay.
Look, I've been sitting here crying the whole time you've been talking about this game. That's all I want to say about that. You just come on, Ubisoft, make a real game. Maybe sign me up. Let's go and do it. Let's make something really crazy and cool. You got a great show here. You got an amazing panel starting with 3-Bit, Psychonauts, Pong Soul, Mav, yourself, your amazing wife, Kaitlin. She's there to support you in every way, shape, and form. It's good. I'm glad that she can give you a kick in the balls once in a while. Do it for us. The Skull Entertainment is great. Nobody stops laughing when somebody gets kicked in the balls. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell you out there.
I do. I stop laughing because it's me.
Of course you do. Of course you do. But anyway, great show. Continue their success and your chat. Amazing chat there as well. You guys are incredible. We'll come back in and we'll see you some other time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Arnie, Arnie, real quick. What do you do if you run out of toilet paper in the bathroom?
You know what I find is I squeeze my butt crack. I get out of the toilet and I run to the part of the house where I've got carpet that I really couldn't give a shit about. And I get there and I do the boot scooty, like the dogs, the legs in the air, and just scoot it along. It really stinks in there, but that's okay. Get the carpet cleaner to come in every couple of months, just give it a once over. But yeah, keep a little corner of carpet with you because the shit sticks. If not, maybe you've got a cat or a donkey or a small dog close. You wipe your ass with those guys.
Donkey.
A gerbil, a hamster. Don't say pony though. 3-Bit's afraid of those.
Big ponies.
Kate, my lovely wife, are you there right now? I know you've been having to step away here and there. No. Okay.
No.
We'll go ahead and say. Just had to check. Hey, 3-Bit. Thank you for being here as well. Make sure everybody knows where to find you.
Sure. Everyone can follow me on Twitter at TheVideoGamesHD. My YouTube channel is TheVideoGamesHD. I just been posting some of my artwork and stuff on Twitter. I'm working on a music video for her name is Ani. She's a music artist. And it's the song Titanic, which was at the end of a film I made, and doing the music video for that. So look out for just like different behind the scenes stuff on that video. And UB stuff is next month. So I'll be working back at UB next month. And other than that, you guys can catch me on just different shows that I jump on. This one every Friday, and then Xbox Factor every Tuesday with Tier Pong, Zemi, and Boom. I think that's it. Everyone, thank you so much for coming on, Noof. It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure doing a show with you and Arnie, who pops in sometimes. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Right on, dude. And the one and only Psychonauts, mellow fellow from outer space. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, Newt, for coming out. You're awesome, my friend. Chat, you're always on fire. Great to see everybody that came out tonight. Love you guys. You can find me everywhere social media at Psychonauts8. You can find me Tuesdays on Players of Everything, Masters of None on the Noobs and Pros channel with Deadwolf and Arsonist and Lady FF. You can find me Wednesdays on with Fun Pop at 10 p.m. Eastern, and here every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern with M7. Love you guys. It's really great, and it'll be fun.
Yeah. Heck yeah, dude. Pong Soul, the encyclopedia of gaming dating back to the very first game ever created.
Yes, sir. That's
Where
right.
can
Pong
people find your
Soul
knowledge?
everywhere. Pong Soul everywhere. Xbox, Twitter, you know the drill. But yeah, no, great show. Noof, awesome. Again, always a pleasure and honor, sir. Great to have you on, man. So love it. And thank Arnie for us as well for making a last minute appearance. I thought he might be sleeping, but he was still awake. So that's good. But chat, you guys were incredible tonight, man. You know what? Normally this show goes left, but tonight the chat was going way left. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are smoking or drinking or doing, but man, you guys were off the charts.
Chat was absolutely awesome tonight, guys.
Yeah.
You had me
was amazing.
Trying to keep my composure at times. I was reading.
Yes.
I tried, but
it was amazing. But no, great night, family. Love you all. Great to see you all again. Lady Lupa, we miss you.
Yes.
Can't wait to get you guys back on here, but definitely a great night. Again, always look forward to this stuff, especially now with how busy I am. Like I was telling Boom, man, these shows are even more important because I got all this pent up because I'm not in chats as much talking about video games. So great to be here tonight. Tomorrow morning, guys, you know it. I know it. We're going to wake you up. So set those alarms. Living Split Screen, myself, my brother from another, Steel Rain. We will be there for Living Split Screen. So you be there too. We're going to have some great talks. I'm sure Steel and I are going to have some rants. We had some crazy stuff out within the industry, but not actual video games that happened this week. You know, my favorite topic, journalism. So we've got some good stuff to dive into, and I'm sure it's going to get spicy as always. Living Split Screen tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time. Tomorrow night, the Shop Podcast is back. We took a pretty big break. So if you guys forgot, the Shop Podcast, PTK Bland's been doing this deal for about over 5 years now. He's got a fantastic show. We always have great guests on there. So stop by 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. That's with Fuzzy. Shout out to Fuzzy, who was in the chat tonight, as always, Centurion, and we might get Stagorilla back this week. So stop by there and see me there. Otherwise, Tuesdays, as 3-Bit already said, we've got the Xbox Factor podcast, Mr. Boomstick, Zemi, 3-Bit, myself. Mav's been jumping in there a lot. You never know who's going to be there, but I will be back this week. I had to take off this week due to work, but I will be back next week. So see you all there, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central. Hey, guys, I'm going to keep telling you, it's the golden age of gaming. For you guys gals who've not been around for as long as I have, guess what? This is crazy. There is so much to play right now. Get out there, play what you love what you play, and I will talk to you real soon.
Golden Age, baby. and I had missed like 12 messages from my wife on my phone. And
but of course you did, and now you're sleeping on the couch behind you.
probably so. So I am going to do her outro. Yeah, she got tied up. She had to go run and do something. So find my lovely wife, Kaitlin, on Twitter at KaitlinX0615. Check out her TikToks that she's posting on her Twitter, as well as her YouTube channel, which the TikToks will be making their way to as well. So she just got started with that. Thank you to her for being here as well to start the show, and for taking care of all the nonsense going on behind the scenes, so that way I can sit here and keep hosting. Love you, babe. Sorry I didn't see all my messages on my phone. Don't hate me. I'm making a public outcry right now before I come downstairs. I'm hoping you're listening.
Well, somebody's gonna be getting dinner tonight.
I'm hungry, so I need to go get some food.
Right.
Hey,
Microwave wiener.
Microwave wiener? Yeah, that's my
Toast and cheese. Sounds great.
That's my
Nickelodeon game. It's gonna be awesome.
Nickelodeon. Is it online? 3-bit?
I was trying to look for information about that. The team made online games before.
Okay,
So I'm hoping
it's got to be right. They couldn't make that game and not have it online.
I really hope so.
I'm just like sick of all these games that you would assume is online that are focused around like co-op or multiplayer, and then you find out they don't have it. It's like,
Yeah, they need to stop doing that, especially for brawlers.
all right, guys, and you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. And you can also find Fun Pop on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, featuring Psychonauts and Kaitlin and whoever else may show up in there in the future. We have a blast talking Marvel, DC, comic books. We're going to have fun talking about Shang-Chi this week, because I'm seeing it tomorrow morning. I got my tickets already. I am hyped and ready to go. Hopefully you're seeing it as well, Psycho. Yeah. Heck yeah, dude. So can't wait. So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. And hey, there may be something else coming on the show, on this channel.
Ooh.
So that's what I'm just gonna say right now. Early workings of something. So a couple things planned. Something involving Halo that we're trying to work on. Then also something else. So you may see some cryptic tweets out there here and there. But hey guys, thank you so much. Chat, you rock. All of you rock so much. All the familiar faces, all the names I see in the chat, engaged, love it. Again, thanks to Noof, Magnificent 7, love you. Lady Lupa, we miss you. Can't wait to see you back on the show, and I hope you both get to feeling 100% again. So,
Exactly.
guys,
Later, ladies.
have a great one. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I'm gonna go hope I'm not in deep shit. Bye.
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 Hey guys, people, chat.
Yeah.